This winter, Liam Neeson is a candle maker. But when his wife is killed by air freshener manufacturers, he is going to go hard wax. This summer, starring John Leguizamo, Michael Jackson. Yes, that Michael Jackson. We will bring him back digitally. Guy, Harry Fisher. Dennis Leary.
What?
Peter Falk.
Oh no!
Roseanne Connor.
I have to see this now.
So not even the act, the comedian, the character?
Dave Bautista. Hulk Hogan.
Let me tell you something, brother.
Rated R starts Friday.
Let me tell you something, brother. I use Glade.
Brother Liam.
Oh, you stole my joke. I was going to say presented by Glade.
God damn it.
I had like 15 of those, and I couldn't decide on which one.
That was the greatest opening we ever did. Other than Hunter moaning.
That was great. Dude, I'll never beat that episode.
Well, like, nobody was ready for it either. You just were like,
Oh, God. We're already off the rails.
hi,
There are
everybody.
there are times where I'm like, how can I quickly derail this podcast? And I just don't do it. And that was one of the times I didn't listen to that voice.
Wow, you're a better man than I am, because I've opened the show saying that my butthole was on fire.
Yeah, we know.
Because I ate some very spicy wings.
Yeah, we remember. And we were all over it.
I know. I bring it back every once in a while.
God.
It was either too many wings or too much citrus. I couldn't remember. Probably both.
Yeah.
My diet was...
We'll never find out.
Yeah, you'll never find out. I'm Connor McGraw, and this is going to be a very off-the-rails episode of After Dark, because we're not talking about news this week, because I'm tired of talking about news.
Same.
Fuck news.
No news is good news.
Fuck news.
Fake news.
Is that like fake news?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, that's the next stage. That's phase 2.
Fuck news. This week in fuck news.
God damn
Who else is here?
Hunter Davenport is here. I'm going to kick Miles Teller's ass. If you're listening to this, Miles, I want you to come to my house. DM me for my address. I'll kick your ass right here.
I want to see it because I think he's a very punchable bug.
We'll live stream it.
I also think
My
I
name-
think you're like a foot and a half taller than him too. So
I'll fucking knock him the fuck out.
I got my money on you.
Damn
He
straight.
has no chin.
I feel like it would be like that sequence from Broly from Dragon Ball Z Abridged. Like I'm like a foot and a half taller than you, but okay. Speak up! I can't hear you down here. Hunter's like, your hair looks like lavender, but smells like strawberries.
I mean, that's not far off.
Alan, your turn.
Yeah. My name's Alan here, and Sesame Street landed on us.
God damn it.
What the fuck?
I was listening to the Bombcast.
I'm Eric Sayour, and I'm here because there always should be an Eric on this show.
Yeah, we can't. We have to. The sun will explode if we don't have an Eric.
Yeah. We're doing this for everyone else's benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm Lou Gonzalez. I'm here so people are allowed to talk about non-white people.
That's right.
Yeah. It's our
Well,
get out of jail free card.
We
I'm
got
here to
that double
co-sign.
covered, so
Yeah.
Lewis is a very expensive insurance policy.
Yes.
You have two non-white people for the first time in a while.
Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
We're finally branching out, getting a little diverse.
We're finally diverse enough to get people to tell us that we're doing forced diversity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Inclusion writers, guys.
After the success of Black Panther, we were like, we need more diversity.
God.
That was a really good joke.
What are we going to do if Batwoman is really good?
Oh no. Well, then the show's canceled. That's the thing. Yeah. So
Well, we got to find a woman.
Yeah, because we don't know any gay girls. Like,
yeah, we have a real shortage of those.
Oh God.
I believe Arlen had something to say as well.
That was bad. That was my.
Oh, I don't know. I'm less fazed by it now after I've digested it over the course of 12 hours.
Okay, insert the sound of sawing slowly.
Oh, fuck you. God. I don't want to. Okay, I fucking saw Hereditary last night. Let's just dive into this. I'm not going to spoil anything because this movie is like, let me just go in. If you haven't seen Hereditary yet, don't even watch a trailer if you haven't seen one. Just go into it as blind as you possibly can. Because I went into it based on one trailer that confused the ever-living piss out of me. And then I sat down and watched it, and within 40 minutes, I was asking for the movie to take something back because I thought it was unfair to my feelings.
Yep.
I didn't need it. I didn't want it, and I was like, no.
Yeah, it goes some fucked up places.
It's been a long time since like a movie has made me feel kind of dead inside.
I said there was 2 other movies I saw that made me feel similar for different reasons. One was The Babadook, because The Babadook is kind of exquisite misery porn in that you are stuck in a house with this mother and child, and you're not really sure who is more unhinged. But it's also it's an allegorical tale about dealing with despair and grief and trying to. It's similar to The Descent, because The Descent is also about kind of confronting your own grief. But The Descent is more of an actual the monsters are real, and the Babadook is a spiritual boogeyman.
But the Babadook ends well.
The Babadook ends on a good note. I mean, it's still kind of like the Babadook ends on a bittersweet thing, because it ends in the fact that you may not be able to get rid of grief, and you may not be able to forget the loss of a loved one, but you can move on and you can live with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other movie was Antichrist, which is a completely volatile, sinful, diabolical film that made me feel empty inside. I will never watch it again.
I've only heard it described to me, and I'm out already. So
Lars is it Lars von Trier? Is that who?
Lars
Yeah,
von
it's
Trier,
Lars von
yeah.
Trier. Yeah.
Yeah.
He just wants everyone to be as miserable as he is.
No, I think he has very clear-cut disdain for humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
And I would almost say that he should subscribe to the show and then kill himself, as we've told him.
But Hereditary kind of falls somewhere in the middle of that, in that it maybe teases kind of a happier ending, but then it just completely decides it's just fuck you, and then goes slightly off the rails for the last 40-ish minutes in a direction I really wasn't prepared for.
Mm-hmm. It goes insane.
It goes so off its rocker. I wasn't sure whether to be horrified or just start cackling because it's so out of left field. And there's one shot in particular I thought was either petrifying or hilarious.
Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about.
It's the latter shot.
Oh, that one. Okay, yes. Yes. Okay, yeah, I thought you were talking about...
it is nearly comical in how strange and fucking weird it is.
I thought you were talking about the swimming shot.
I don't remember the swimming shot.
Yeah, okay, we'll need to talk more after.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Someone else pointed that out. I was like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, okay, we can't go to spoilers.
Yeah, exactly.
Was there a shot where someone was lying on the ground and then they just turned to the left and someone's on fire and you laughed because it was so out of left field?
Yes. Someone there. It's in the trailers. Someone is bursting into flames, but that scene happens on such a drop of a dime that you either go oh, or you're like,
okay. Yeah. That was a complete shot in the dark. I didn't realize that actually happens in the movie.
Well, I mean, I thought it would be somewhat of a hallucination or a dream because the movie does play with dreams. The movie does dreams in dreams in dreams.
Yep.
But then during at some point you're not really sure what is either a hallucination or a shared hallucination because the movie goes to weird places really fast. Also, the trailers are completely misleading, and people I thought were central parts of the film aren't. Yeah. Namely one in specific, because the trailer heavily focuses on this character, and the movie starts dropping hints as to what's going on pretty early. But the thing is, for me, I was too distracted by the real world horrific things that were flying out of people's mouths.
Yeah.
Like there's like, without really spoiling it, like Toni Collette's character Anne is a very troubled mother whose mother just died, who goes to like a support group. And she just, like, vomits out all of this grief she has bottled up, including the fact that, like, her father had DID and just starved himself to death.
Yeah.
Well, shit.
Well, yeah. There's it's a movie that, like, there are moments where it's setting things up and you don't realize that they were setting something up till much later. But
then, Annie has a very strange relationship with her children. And at some point is having a very heated discussion with her son and just blurts out, like, I never wanted to be your mother, and then covers her mouth because she can't believe what she just said to her son, who is now in tears.
Mm-hmm. It goes too
and
real.
then, like, and they have a fucking insane confrontation over a dinner table that made me feel so unwelcome. I wanted to get up and leave the room to let these two fictional characters finish what they started.
Yep.
I was so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Everything you're saying reminds me, I don't know how many of you guys have watched Handmaid's Tale. It's not horror in a lot of ways, but it is in a lot of ways. And that show is just so uncomfortable.
Well, I think horror, like, there's been a lot of movies that come out in the last, like, decade or so that could be horror, but technically fall into, like, action thriller.
Yeah.
Like, Old Boy is horror in a certain respect because, like, what you're seeing is just, like, patently uncomfortable.
Well, I think when you get into, like, anything that was originally, like, a Japanese movie,
that whole trilogy is Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, Old Boy, and Lady Vengeance are all just mean-spirited, vile, beautiful films that usually end with the protagonist having something terrible happen to them.
Yeah, like being tricked into having sex with their daughter. That's fucked up.
Yeah, but Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance is somehow even worse because Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance includes multiple parties trying to get revenge on each other. And then, like, basically everyone ends up dead.
Damn.
Well, at least, like, Old Boy has some weirdly factual things behind it because there's actually, like, a thing about you don't meet someone you're related to. There's, like, weird attractiveness.
Yeah.
Can't remember what it's called, but there's an actual, like, psychological term.
Yeah, it's weird. It does
that and like the idea of someone scooping you off the streets and just like detaining you for 15 years in a single room is petrifying to me. Because you'd come out of that room like a fucking alien.
I can't remember what I watched recently, and they were talking about, what's the worst thing they can do to you in jail? Put you in solitary.
Yeah.
So if
just fucking ask Bronson. Ask that dude, the real one. His senses are fucked because he spent so many years in solitary. He's like, I think he's going blind. He's going deaf. He hallucinates frequently. That's why he wears those weird sunglasses all the time because his eyes are just fucked. And I think he was one of like 2 people to ever be put in a certain kind of like basically immobilizing cage in England prisons. And it's basically just like, it's a box that's no bigger than your shoulders.
So
that
like,
sucks.
So like a calf that we're making veal.
Yes. Yeah. And I think he was put in that after he was beaten maliciously. But then again, it's like if you pay attention to this guy, like him taking a malicious beating was kind of an everyday thing. He also returned the malicious beatings on several occasions and had to be transferred from prison to prison because he kept staging riots.
He just really loved beating the fuck out of people.
Well, at this point, he's like, okay, this game is over. He's like, I never killed anybody. He's like, I'm in prison for an armed robbery where I didn't make off with any money and no one died. And he's been in prison for like 20-ish years.
They keep just extending it.
Well, they keep extending it because he keeps being an asshole. Well, I think his thing is he's been responsive to very abusive situations by guards, and because he's not one to just lay over and take a beating, he fights back.
He's like the definition of institutionalized.
Yeah. But I think he's also said, he's like, if you let me go, he's like, I'm going to move to the countryside, buy a cottage for me, and draw until I'm dead. That's all he wants to do. And I know his artwork is successful. People buy it from prison.
Well, that's also because he's who he is. People buy
people
John
love
Wayne Gacy stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they did.
The difference is Bronson can keep making this stuff until he's dead.
Well, and also
John Wayne Gacy is already dead.
Well, and I think they said like a lot of the stuff Gacy did, he didn't really do.
Yeah.
He just signed.
So speaking of movies that people have seen, Arlen saw Slenderman, and I really want to hear him talk about it. Because I think all of us actually have some interesting opinions on this movie, whether we've seen it or not, because I think everyone has an opinion on Slenderman currently in pop culture.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I'm going to actually start by saying this. There are parts of the movie where the director kind of nails it. I feel like that's an important place to start off from. There are places where it's like, this scene's actually really like kind of tense and kind of scary. And this is what I came to this theater for. And all of those scenes are followed up by things that are ridiculous and just so incredibly stupid, like terrible lines of dialogue, terrible special effects. One moment which I will never be able to purge from my mind, which I'm just going to call the vinyl scene.
You've been talking about this for a few days, and I have no idea what the hell this is.
So, okay, if you guys want me to describe the scene, I will.
Absolutely. I'm not paying money to see this fucking movie.
So, at one point, the typical, she's the jock girl who also studies a lot, and she gets all the good grades, and she's also hanging out with a delinquent and a girl who lives in a trailer park and the only black girl in school, because that's realistic.
It's a Benetton ad.
Yeah, people love tropes.
Mm-hmm. So she's dating the jock boy, who's also kind of smart, you know. Also, his dad has a vinyl collection in an all wooden living room. Kill me with a spoon. Kill me. So they're doing the thing that teenagers do or whatever.
What do teenagers do, Arlen? Tell me.
I don't know. I was never a teenager. I skipped over it.
I was born 20.
That's right. But no, so they're playing this music or whatever, and they're making out, and he's on top of her. And he's like, so what happened? So we didn't actually watch the video, because that's why they watched this video that activates the Slenderman.
Are you fucking kidding me? It's
yes.
The Ring?
Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's a soft Ring remake. Also, that's the other thing.
Oh,
it's basically a Ring.
Is it for real a Ring remake, or is it like just biting it?
No, it might as well be the Ring remake. In the same way that that Truth or Dare movie was basically It Follows, but worse. This is, but much worse. So they're doing their thing or whatever, and they're small talking or whatever, and they say something, or after a kiss, and she looks away because she thinks she sees a shadow or whatever. She turns to look at him, and his face is all distorted, and he's making this weird sound.
Oh my god!
But here's the thing: it's not a better special effect than that, or a better sound effect. It's exactly that sound. It's like,
but
and his face is shaking, and it looks so bad. It looks like a 5-year-old got a computer, and they were animating his face and making it move.
I'm glad you referenced Truth or Dare, because that movie also has some of the most horrendous special effects I've ever seen in regards to that dopey, cartoony smile everybody gets.
Mm-hmm.
It's like someone went into Photoshop and was like, stretch. That's it.
Yeah.
You know what? When I saw the trailers, it reminded me of that really bad John Travolta movie. I can't remember. Old Dog?
Goody?
Old Dog. Oh, dear God.
Yeah, with him and Robin Williams. Because they basically did the exact same effect. I only know because they did it on How Did This Get Made.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They did that sort of makeup thing.
It was terrible. What's that early, not Photoshop, that you used to play with when you were in elementary school?
Oh, yeah, pixel art or something?
Yeah.
Pixiv or whatever.
GIMP? You mean GIMP?
something
like that.
Yeah, I had like a Photoshop for kids. Basically,
it looks like someone grabbed the warp brush and just dragged someone's face like a little extra across each side.
Yeah. But
I'm just imagining them walking to middle school and be like, "Here, make our movie for us."
Do this."
Yeah, kind of. Like that's how it feels in moments. But then there are scenes where it's like, this is really well shot. Like this is really creepy. Whoever the cinematographer for this is should get rewarded. And then you sit through the credits and you realize Javier Botet is in this movie as the Slenderman.
Well, of course he is.
And it's like, I don't believe it for a second, though, because the Slenderman looks so fake and so CG.
Also, like, when you see Javier Botet on screen, you tend to know it's him because he's hired very specifically for abnormal movements and impossible joint manipulation. Like, that's his thing. That's why in Mama, he's so fucking scary because you're like, those fingers aren't real. And then you see, like, test footage, you're like, no, his fingers are very real, and his fingers can envelop your face like a face hugger.
Yeah.
He's in the second Hellboy, right? Like he's the thing with the weird hands that have eyeballs on it.
He's also in Alien Covenant, but I still don't believe that any of his stuff actually made it in.
Yeah, because he was covered up by a big CGI blob.
Yeah. He's
in Mama. He is in. He was the original scary hag in the attic of the first wreck.
Oh yeah,
that was him. And he's been in a few. I can't remember what the hell he's been a bunch. Oh, he was the Crooked Man in The Conjuring 2.
Yes, yeah, that was him.
Which is the coolest part of that fucking movie.
Yeah. And like he's like his movements look so unnatural that you can believe he is a special effect, but he's not. Like his body is just shaped and moves that way.
Yeah.
He's like invaluable to the horror industry right now because they don't need to. They can just get this dude who you don't have to pay too much because he's gonna be covered in makeup and shit. Yeah. And he's essentially just like a Doug Jones, but like with way more freaky features. But I don't know why like an Alien Covenant. Like I don't know why you just cover him up with fucking CG and just make his performance completely indistinguishable.
I don't know. It's a lot like how they shot all of The Hobbit with real people as the orcs and like practical orc effects. And if you look at them, it's gorgeous.
And then you look at them in the fucking movie, and then it's like, oh, you're literally a CGI blob.
Yeah, you just but yeah. No, this movie's it's really disappointing. Slenderman, because again, there are those moments where you're like, this could have been good. There could have been just a little bit more work on this. And also, like, some of the actors aren't bad. I believe it's Jamie King, I want to say, but I don't want to get that wrong.
I like Jamie King.
Yeah. She's from Lou. I don't know if you'd know her, but she's in the first Conjuring movie. She's in a bunch of stuff.
The name sounds super familiar.
She was in an episode of Flash also.
She is she's the second oldest daughter in The Conjuring?
She's the one who sees the thing behind the door, and she's freaked the fuck out by it.
Yeah, I like her a lot.
Joey King, there
we go. I think Jamie King was in Dark Knight Rises as Selena's roommate.
Yeah, I was going to say Jamie King was like a model.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking of somebody else. But she does come up. Oh, wait. She might be her daughter.
Oh, you want to know what she's also been in, which is hilarious? That I brought up. I think she's in the new Madden 19.
That's the thing. She's been in a lot of things.
Why?
Yeah.
Joey King has made a lot of really, really just strange decisions, like Wish Upon Us and the Kissing Booth.
Oh God!
She plays Channing. I think she plays Channing Tatum's kid in White House Down.
Mm-hmm.
She does.
Jamie King is in an upcoming movie called Cutman, and it's not a Mega Man movie, and I'm upset.
Oh, it's probably a lame boxer movie, isn't it?
No, it's some stupid romance movie.
Anyway, was also in Bulletproof Monk.
So I Oh, go ahead, Eric.
I was just going to say, have you seen the director's filmography, the director of Slenderman? Because it would be like his first movie, but he actually made the third I Know What You Did Last Summer movie.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
But then he made Some the Yard, the dance movie with like
What?
and
What
then the losers. I don't know if you remember the losers, the action film that had like Idris Elba and Chris Evans that was managed
and Jeffrey D. Morgan and Zoe Saldana, like a whole shitload of people.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And
that's startling.
Yeah, and he's been making like a bunch of good TV, Americans episode, Sleepy Hollow. Like he's not a person of interest. He's not a newcomer that's had his first movie. He's just a bad director.
That's like Kevin. Kevin Tancherion. He directed Fame in 2009, and I was like, in that movie, I worked in a movie theater and just watched that movie die slowly.
Like the remake of the original one?
Yeah, and like he made the Queen concert movie, but then he went on to direct the Mortal Kombat Rebirth short, in which he basically re-envisioned all of Mortal Kombat in a completely contemporary setting and changed it to an underground fighting competition featuring killers, murderers, and like assassins. Like serial killers, like hired murderers, and like other kinds of criminals. Like he reimagined Reptile as someone who survived Harlequin syndrome and grew up to be a cannibal.
Is that the one with Michael Jai White?
Yes, and and Jerry Ryan.
I was gonna say 7 of 9. Yeah.
Yeah, and like he directed that, which then got the interest of Warner Brothers, which then it allowed him to direct and produce several Mortal Kombat shorts called Mortal Kombat Legacy, where he basically does either reimaginings of the canon or like complete, like off the wall reboots. So, like his Raiden short is the most interesting one because Raiden lands on Earth in the yard of an asylum, and he's instantly sedated and locked up and can't leave because like basically his godly powers are being locked behind tons of medication.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I remember seeing their design.
He has the blue blood too.
Yeah, he has blue blood. It's super weird.
I remember
also because of those Mortal Kombat shorts, he's been doing like episodes of every TV show you talk about on this podcast.
Yeah, like it got him some stuff, but like I wanted to go back to Slenderman because I have some feelings on anyone in Hollywood who thinks that now is the time to make a Slenderman movie because it isn't.
It's not.
It's not.
That time was 2006.
It's not the time, but if they had made a good movie, I would be disagreeing with you. But they didn't.
Yeah,
they
didn't. They didn't, and to the surprise of nobody, it's a stinker, and it bombed.
Yeah.
My thing with this is like, I don't think the people who make decisions in this industry truly understand like the creepypasta culture. How that little subculture functions and why it's scary. Yeah. Also, the internet has ruined Slenderman forever, and making a movie based on him now is very strange to me.
So
especially after that HBO documentary, which is the scariest Slenderman thing related to it ever, because it became too fucking real for everybody.
Yeah, no, that documentary is completely like it unnerves you to a degree because there's something about children who just do terrible things that's just freaky. Yeah. But on the Slenderman thing, I understand why it took them so long because movies take forever. But I do think
this also isn't the first
stop.
This isn't the first attempt. This is like the 18th attempt. But the rest of them go straight to the bottom of a Netflix catalog or straight to Redbox, and nobody gives a shit because it's a cheap cash-in. That's all it is.
This is Sony, though.
What do you mean? You guys don't like the Bye Bye Man?
Well, here's the thing. Like, a boogeyman is nothing new. Like, I think the most interesting take on the Slenderman idea was this indie film I saw called The Lord of Tears. And it's not the Slender Man, it's called the Owl Man. And it is this really creepy-looking boogeyman who has a very similar get-up. He has a suit. But as opposed to elongated limbs and a blank face, he has massive fucking hooked talons and a huge bloody owl head.
That sounds cool.
It's cool as fuck. And to promote the movie, when Chat Relay was still a thing, to promote the movie, they had this boogeyman basically show up in a black, like they would present random Chat Relay people with a black screen, and he would just kind of step into frame and just kind of vamp in front of them for a few seconds and then disappear.
Sounds like something
that actually built up
on an upcoming
show. I was like, What, Lord of Tears? I might, because when I finally saw the movie, I'm like, this is okay. It's not the greatest thing, because it's also it was a.
He looks fucking creepy.
Oh, I know, right?
What the fuck?
Oh, he's like an actual like. He's also got his own creepypasta, so he's he's his own thing. But yeah, no, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, but like I don't like the idea of the movie industry being so desperate for like a hit that they'll go to these creepypastas or these very short stories or these like 2-minute films on YouTube and try to stretch them into a 2-hour experience, because I don't think that works. Well, and let's all be real. Like, the only way that Slenderman was ever scary on film was fucking Marble Hornets.
Yeah.
Connor, I'm going to say this is also from the studio that brought you the Emoji Movie.
Right.
I know.
And you have to consider this. Amy Pascal is running out of sandwiches. She will run out in
She's like, where's the bread? And someone's like, you keep using it for sandwiches, man.
She alone is keeping Subway sandwiches alive.
This is true. So if she doesn't do something, she will run out of them. It's the cycle of things.
More sandwiches for the sandwich god.
But like, I don't. If I live to see a movie based on what the fuck is that creepypasta? Like the guy who the weird guy who follows somebody and starts dancing at the moon.
Right. Oh yeah. Well, like, I mean, so is it somebody remind me? Is it a creepypasta or is it an R for Life? Where it's a story about the guy who picks up somebody on the road and he drives away. The guy comes out of the weeds and he like starts walking on all four.
Oh God, no! I don't know what the fuck that is.
You've never heard of this one?
No.
Like he like picks up a guy in a zoot suit in like the 40s.
Did they do that on last podcast?
Yeah, they did. I think they did, and I was watching the video about it.
My skin crawled just hearing about it.
Yeah, and he like drops him off, and he waits there for a few minutes. He's like, I have to go do something in this like weird voice, and then he drives off. So he's like, I'm not waiting around anymore. And then he comes out of the field that he was waiting at on all fours, chasing his car. Since it's an old car, he just barely gets away. It would be like if you made a movie of that. I don't know.
That'd be actually kind of creepy.
Yeah, it's creepy. Here's the thing. I think you can make a movie out of these things. You can't copy other movies.
I think these things sound like they'd be better like Tales from the Crypt episodes.
Yes.
Or like anthology movie. Like an anthology movie, cool.
There's not enough to make an hour and a half or hour and 20-minute thing.
I think it's weird that that the movie industry turned to this weird fucking dark corner of the internet to start pulling up movie ideas.
Well,
really
it's also this. They took what they did is they took the IP of Slenderman and they put him onto a script they had that was a knockoff The Ring movie, obviously. Because they own the rights to The Ring.
That feels fucking dirty, too.
Yeah, that's what they did, though. That's what these studios do all the time. That's not what you should do. So we've been talking in the chat, in multiple chats, about how I recently watched all of, what is it called? Happy Cove or Endless Cove?
Okay, Candle Cove.
Candle Cove.
Channel Zero, Season 1, Candle Cove.
Yes. That show does not lean on any other story. There's no movie I can say this is like this. There's nothing. The closest thing I can think of is comparing Candle Cove to anything is It. And Candle Cove came out before the It movie. Yes, it's after the book, so you can maybe draw some things there, but the closest in terms of plot that I can think of is It.
Well, I think Sci-Fi actually took a very interesting approach to that, because Candle Cove is one of the longer creepypastas you can find.
Mm-hmm.
And having done Irrational Fears with Anthony that I talked about a long time ago, we did Uncle Jerry's Family Fun Zone or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was I wasn't the narrator. I was one of the voices. Which, by the way, go check that out after listening to this. That was my only voice acting thing I've ever done. But that was long too. That was probably like, I don't know, that was like a 20-page script. But that's just for us reading it.
Right.
If you're going to adapt that into a TV show, that's actually probably is a better idea. Because there's a lot more stuff there that you can mess with. Like Slenderman is like, hey, he fucking shows up and steals children. Blah. Like,
well, I mean, yeah, but that's the thing. Like, don't make it about Slenderman. Make it a mystery.
Well, that's why I think Marble Hornets is so cool, because Marble Hornets sets up this premise as like, yeah, my friend was making a movie, and then he just stopped. And then he gave me all these tapes and said, do me a favor, either destroy the, like if you, like, don't watch these, just destroy them. Like, I don't have the heart to do it.
Yeah.
And so he starts it like the series is framed as this person going through these tapes and just kind of figuring out what the fuck is going on. And the more he watches them, the more he sees weird stuff happening. And then, like, when Slenderman finally shows up in one of those things clear as day, it's scary as shit.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's about him. It's not about him. It's about this video journal of somebody else. But then the other thing is, like, when you notice something in the background that's not quite right, you're like, what is that? That doesn't look natural.
Right.
And then when you take that and you slap it onto, like, boom, bam, jump scare, black cat jumping out of the closet. Ah!
Well, because, again, Slenderman started off as a picture thing? Like a picture, Photoshop competition. Like, you can't just take that and make a movie out of it. Again, like, you can't just story swap things and just, like, put a new skin over it. You got to make something.
It's a profound misunderstanding of, like, this little I want to call it source material, but, like, there's really no concrete source material because it existed as this picture and a description. Like, there's no real tale attached to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Internet boogeyman. It's so fucking fluid. Like, I don't know how to describe it.
Well, like, people have added stuff to it, and that's the other thing. Like, there are very clear attempts in the movie to try to pay tribute to all the different mythology that exists.
Oh, that sounds like a fucking disaster.
Yeah, but they have already. Like, they don't commit to anything. That's like trying to say, like, 100 years of comic book history is all the same continuity, and none of it's ever been retconned. It's all the same thing. Right.
Like, that's insanity.
There's only one man that can do that.
Mm-hmm. They do, we know. They do, but, like, they do, like, little bits of lip service, and, like, they kind of hint at the idea of people offering other people up. But it's very clear that was a bigger deal in the movie, and they cut it out because of those two little girls. That's shockingly obvious.
That whole area of, was it, like, Minnesota?
Mm-hmm. They didn't show the movie.
Yeah. I did want to say all this reminded me of, this is not the first time they've done this. There was a movie in 1998 where they basically did the exact same thing.
Oh.
It was called Urban Legend. They basically the I Know What You Did Last Summer thing and just slapped on Urban Legends.
Well, the Urban Legend thing, I think, is a little different because those stories are only told one way, and they've existed for as long as I've been alive.
Well,
yeah, but that's
those
because
stories have changed over time, but not as quickly as creepypastas do.
Yeah, because the nature of a creepypasta is the name is weird. When I first heard the word creepypasta, I was like, I don't know, what is it, a scary noodle? Like, I don't understand this. And it's a copy pasta, which is a copy and paste story. But over time, people will copy and paste this and make amendments and remove things and add things. And it's no one's story. It's everybody's story.
Yeah, until it turns into his pledges living in his castle with him and having affairs, let's say.
That's weird.
Yeah.
But, like, it's creepypastas are urban legends just plus internet.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I finally, like, I think, like, a few months ago, I sat down and, like, finally listened to, what is that fucking story? Joe the Killer? Jeff the Killer?
I think it is Joe the Kill. Yeah,
with the weird Jeff the Killer. I sat down and listened to that, and I was like, this is the most edgelordy nonsense I've ever heard in my life.
When they start going to the origin story of Jeff, I was like, wow.
It's the dumbest shit.
It's like a really bad Image comic from the 90s.
If I have to live to see a Jeff the Killer
sounds
movie,
like making movies of those would be a bad idea.
That is my fear. That's why I brought this up, because, like, is this where, like, filmmakers are going to start looking for ideas? Because this is not a wealth of brilliance here.
Because Slenderman was bad and nobody's.
I don't think it's filmmakers looking. I think it's, like, TV studios being like, what can we do?
Mm-hmm. I think we'll get more Bye Mans.
Does anybody have maybe like Eric or Alan or anybody else? Like, do you guys have like thoughts on this? You guys are very quiet.
I think think Slenderman is like those types of creepypasta, like you said, don't work as movies. I think they should just exist as like college students making like cheap horror films should get those ideas and use them to actually get the budget to make big horror films. I think that's where they work the best.
That's
as like I think this type of like one monster horror. I was just thinking about it, like what I would like out of the Slenderman film specifically. Have my only experience with it being like the bad video games, but I think like a 15-minute like VR movie would be very interesting as like a Slenderman story that's like filmed with a 360 camera. That's like
that's actually a really cool idea.
Yeah. And on that note, I mean, there's a good 15-minute VR movie in the film Slenderman. If you cut the rest of it out. Because again, like, there's a thing that they do with a phone that I'm not going to describe in case any of you do ever decide to watch it for some reason. And there's a library or bookstore. It's not really clear. There's a bookstore scene that's like really creepy, and
I think Slenderman visually is actually petrifying because how many of us have seen the Japanese version of Pulse?
I've seen bits and pieces of it.
Okay, the thing with the Japanese version of Pulse, which is actually like on the polar opposite end, why the American version infuriated me and made my blood boil, was that they approach ghosts instead of this loud, boisterous entity. It's these kind of fluidous, shadowy figures that kind of just they exist in the background. And they're kind of there to wait until you, the viewer, see them, and then when you finally catch on that they're there, you like your blood runs cold because you realize you've been staring at a frame with a fucking dead person in the background who's been staring at you the entire time. There's a shot like where there's a boy standing in a library, but only like his half of him is standing out in view, and he's standing behind a bookshelf, and he's just kind of sitting there staring at everybody.
I'll say this movie does have scenes that are kind of like that.
I think like if you stuck Slenderman in the background of a shot and you wait for me to notice him, and then when I finally do, I'm not going to be okay with it. Like I'm going to be very upset.
I think that. It's using Slenderman smartly, and also like he's so CG in this movie, and it's bad CG. It doesn't like. And here's the thing: people who like the movie, which I can't believe that exists, they say that he's not in it enough. He's in it too much. He should be in it 50% less. Like you should
like Jaws.
Yes, exactly. He should be something that's in the background that you slowly build to.
He's supposed to be a looming presence that you're supposed to be consistently afraid of because you don't know when and where he's going to show up.
He should be a shadow or just like a finger or hand in scenes.
Actually, like one of the best things about The Ritual was something I found out later, was that the monster in The Ritual is present before you get a full shot of it. Yeah. But because of the way the monster is built, you can't actually make out what you're looking at.
Yep.
And someone on the internet showed me a picture. Who here has seen The Ritual so far? I think
I have.
Yeah, I know Arlen has. I have.
Yeah.
Lou, Eric, Alan. I know you don't do horror that much.
I think Alan's gone.
Yeah, I think Al dropped.
Of course.
His computer died.
Oh, okay. The monster kind of has, I won't say where or how, but it does have some humanoid-looking hands on it somewhere.
Oh,
at some point, someone's looking out into the forest, and you can't really tell. It just looks like trees. And then what looks very clearly like a hand, it's the same color as the bark, moves off of a tree, and it's there for you to see it, and you go, what in the fuck was that?
Yeah. And there are definitely parts I can think of where it probably was there before, and I just
and you're not paying attention. You're not looking for it because, especially when you see this thing in full body, you're like, you can't make heads or tails of what in God's name it is.
So, like, the hands are like antlers.
That's more complicated than that.
You could say that, I guess.
I'm looking at pictures of it from Google, and it looks awesome.
It's the coolest fucking monster I've seen in a while.
Eric, you were gonna say?
Yeah, no, I was just going to ask Arlen. So, if there are good parts to Slenderman, does it feel like the director made a bad movie or the studio made a bad movie? It feels like the studio fucked it up at the end.
It feels like Amy Pascal, in her wisdom, came in with a sandwich. And she was like, you will reshoot this scene the way that I want you to. Here's the thing, I'm joking a little bit, but I'm also not. Like, they're very... And that's the thing. The scenes that feel like they were made well, they feel like they're part of another movie, a much creepier, more interesting movie. And the parts that are bad, that are like egregiously bad, feel like they were shot like a month ago very quickly, and like they had no time to do anything, and they were just trying to sneak in pieces to make the movie work.
This sounds like another movie we are probably one of the only shows on the planet who will ever bring this movie up more than once. Blair Witch 2 was supposed to be something else entirely different. No, listen. It was supposed to be something else. It was supposed to be much more satirical, and it was supposed to be kind of this weird, tongue-in-cheek approach to obsession over media. It was supposed to have an entirely different vibe to it altogether, with horror elements blended in. After that was done, the studio was like, add some gore.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean add some gore? There's no place for it. Like, no one in this movie is a killer. There's no slasher villains, nothing. Like, I'm trying to do something very straightforward. And so they had to, like, go into the director's backyard and film these sequences involving characters that had no effect in the plot, who show up arbitrarily, who are then murdered for no reason. And then, close to release, the studio went, this is too gory. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so they attempted to cut down the gore, and then the movie came out, and you had this complete disaster of a Frankenfilm with two contesting tones trying to exist in the same space.
Yep.
And that is why Blair Witch 2 is
talked about a lot.
Yeah, and that is why Blair Witch 2 is as bad as it is. It's not because a director had a bad vision per se. I don't think so. It's because studio interference fucked it up.
Yeah, as happens from time to time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happens.
Hunter, we can't air that yet because we have to review that movie.
I know. So
you're gonna sit on those emotions for a long time.
Yeah, it's going to be a while.
My 2 cents in that movie is I'm not sure if the studio was the problem.
I think multiple parties are to blame for that movie in particular. And for those who don't know what we're talking about Fan Four Stick.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyways,
it's really a scary movie.
I don't think I have anything else to say about Slenderman other than like.
I mean, we're talking about horror movies. We might as well just keep the ball rolling. I mean,
yeah.
It seems to be the tone we always do for off-topic After Darks.
Why do we always do horror movies on off-topic?
I don't know.
I don't know because they're easy.
Because they're easy and we all fucking love them. And Eric actually hasn't watched enough of them.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. That's why in October I'm going to make you watch so many.
Because I heard there's lots of classic slashers that you have not seen yet.
Oh no, I haven't seen nothing. I've seen like the original Halloween.
Okay, well I mean that counts for something.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
And nothing before 2010. I haven't seen very much horror because I was
okay. Here's the thing. Please, for the love of God, don't watch anything from like 2001 to 2010. Okay, like it's not worth it. Unless it's Friday the 13th or My Bloody Valentine 3D, don't fucking watch it.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, there are a couple indies in there that are
like the Saw series. The Saw series I don't count because the Saw series has now become these kind of like roller coaster movies where you're there for a cheap thriller,
and some like Furious or Blood.
Some kind of interesting but albeit ridiculous lore that is consistent throughout the films they build on.
You know, I hate gore. I'm not watching those movies. I don't care.
Yeah, no, don't. Okay, here's the thing. Watch the first Saw movie because the first Saw movie is very tame in compared to the sequels. The first Saw movie actually was cut down to achieve an R rating, and James Wan wanted it that way. And there's like very minimal shots of horrific violence. A lot of it is implied, and a lot of it is aftermath. But there's nothing like it's not really a splatter film.
Yeah, because torture porn is just.
Yeah. So no. don't give Hostel your time.
Hostel's bad. I
don't respect that film at all. And I think the second movie is even shittier than the first one. Hostel is basically Eurotrip until they decide there hasn't been enough blood yet, and they hit you with fucking everything in a 25-minute window. Like people's tendons are being cut and eyeballs are being melted. It's not fun. But like I would say watch Saw 1 because Saw 1 is like it's this weird little film where you're like, Danny Glover and Carrie Elways are in this? Like
it's actually
Saw 1 is awesome. And they hired a Shakespearean actor to lay on the floor for 2 hours.
The movie was also so good because, like the original Blair Witch, it came out of nowhere.
And the ending... Okay, here's a better question. Has anyone spoiled the ending for you yet?
Of Saw?
Yeah.
I have no idea what happens in Saw. Maybe someone told me and I forgot.
Fucking fantastic.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because the ending will punch you in the face. The ending had me probably numb for about 15 minutes because I was so shocked.
Because I haven't seen Saw either, so this will be interesting.
Wait, you haven't? I'm sorry, what?
I haven't seen the original Saw for similar reasons to Eric, just because
wow,
what?
It's probably the only horror movie I've seen.
Have you had the ending spoiled for you yet?
Nope. No.
Holy shit!
Wow.
So this will be fascinating.
Maybe this is an age thing because Saw came out when I was in high school.
Yeah, no, I was like,
with you,
Saw came out when I was in high school too.
Saw, they're the same age.
Okay, so. It's just I can't believe it's not something you just like hadn't picked up or at some point, especially because like now that it's been revived, like there's a renewed interest in it.
Holy shit! I was in 4th grade when this movie came out.
I had some residual hate towards it.
Was like in 5th grade?
Okay, here's the thing. Honest to God, with the exception of Eric, because you just said you don't like gore, but if you can stomach it, the Saw series is good for 4 films and then starts to really fall apart.
I've heard that.
I say 4 because 3 and 4 are the most interesting films in the series because they are filmed back to back and take place in the same time window in the same building on opposite sides.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember which one I was the one that made me lose it. It might have been 5.
It was 5. It was 5. 5 is
was that the one with the
dog shit? Yes. No. 5 is the one with the FBI agent who stands in an evidence room for 30 minutes and monologues and has flashbacks that he didn't experience.
Is that the one from the guy? Is that the one with the guy from Gilmore Girls? Isn't it? I know it's a great reference right now.
Yes, Agent Strom. He's the one who's in that movie.
Okay, that's the one I saw. The last one I saw in the theater, and I was like, "Fuck this, I'm done."
And then Saw 6 is like really interesting because Saw 6 actually had something to say outside of we're going to butcher people. Saw 6 actually decided to take on the concept of health insurance, and it frames Jigsaw as someone who could have gotten treatment for his cancer. By the way, it's lore for the first movie for the 2 people who haven't seen it. There's a motivation behind the killer because there was a fuck up and he got diagnosed with cancer.
Because I was going to say that kind of connects to the original.
Yeah, he could have gotten treatment, but is denied because of like a fucking algorithmal whatever. And he's like, you can't play God. He's like, this is not ethical. He's like, this is not right. He's like, you can't just decide who gets a death sentence or not. And that's why he stages the game in 6 the way he does, because he basically puts like a health insurance CEO in the chair for the games. And it's actually interesting. And then Saw 7 happens, and Saw 7 is fascinating for 2 minutes in the opening and then 2 minutes at the end. And everything in between is Sci-Fi Channel disposable nonsense. It is painful. And then Saw 8 was actually surprisingly, unexpectedly okay for being the 8th movie in a series that died.
It is kind of funny that how much it kind of parallels Fast and Furious.
Yeah, actually.
They're from the same time where they started. They have like this weird drop off, and then they get revived, and they kind of become something else.
Right. Yeah, they really do actually, because like Saw 1 through 3. Well, 4 technically, because it's a trilogy that has like an extra film because like one story is split into 2 films. That's where you can stop at a healthy point and decide whether or not you want to continue the series, because then the series gets absurd at that point.
Interesting. I don't know. So we've had the conversation on here before about like I don't like Bone Tomahawk because of.
Ooh.
I don't like it. I don't like it because of the. the scene that will divide audiences.
Look, I'm not okay. Here's the thing. I'm just going to say it right here. Somebody in Bone Tomahawk gets split vertically from the groin to the head in a very slow, painful manner.
Okay,
and
that was going to be my question. How fast?
Not fast.
No, not fast at all.
It's okay. Okay.
Can I ask, is it a man or a woman?
Dude, the movie's called Bone Tomahawk. Use your imagination.
It's really bad. Like, and it's so gruesome, and it doesn't serve a purpose. And that's the thing for me.
It is there to really make you upset, and it's really effective at that task.
It does that, but aside from that, there's no reason for it to happen. It's completely unnecessary, and that's where I come from with gore. It's like, it needs to have a reason for me. Like, the scene from Day of the Dead, where you see that guy just getting ripped apart in the elevator. Like, that scene is necessary because of what's gone on throughout the movie. So yeah, like, but unnecessary violence just like, it just bothers me quite a bit.
Like, a movie that does it well, I think, is Green Room. That's like very gruesome when it has to be, but only when it has to be.
Yes.
There's a scene in Green Room with a box cutter that I cannot watch.
Yeah, the box cutter gets me. Yeah.
Yes. I'm kind of the same boat where I don't like gore, but I sometimes I just cannot handle it.
Yeah. No, here's the thing. The older I get, the more sensitive I am to it, because I guess just like the older I get, the more sensitive I am to human suffering.
Right.
And when I start to think about that in real life, I'm like, that is appalling, and I don't want that to happen to anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
to me, it depends on how realistic the gore is.
And
like,
that's the other part of it. If it's uncomfortably realistic, I don't want to experience it. But if it's zany and cartoony, and it's Peter Jackson's Dead Alive, like levels of blood being sprayed out of places that can't spray, like
a movie that really got
Django.
me.
Django is a perfect example because Django is dead serious, but Django has the most cartoonish violence I've seen of a serious movie in a long time.
Yeah.
A movie that really got me bad with that is Jeepers Creepers 1. There's a weird scene where like he's eating like someone's tongue or something.
Yeah,
I don't do well with any violence involving someone's tongue.
Yeah,
that's just.
And I don't do well with movies directed by
pedophiles. So a convicted child molester.
Yeah,
good job, guy.
To change the direction. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say a scene that fucked me up recently was in the film Revenge. When a girl is sewing herself up in a very, very graphic way, because after being like pierced by a tree branch, so it's through her. She removes it and then just sews herself up, and it's very, very graphic, and it works for the film. Yeah. And it works really well, and it's not like it's revolting a bit, but just like when it fits the themes of the film, and
I like movies
you're gonna watch. Mm-hmm. It's not unexpected.
Yeah, movies like war films with graphic violence never bothered me because I'm like, it's fucking war. People lost their arms every 30 seconds.
Oh, like Saving Private Ryan's opening?
Yeah, or I've heard Hacksaw Ridge is a little uncomfortable because it's Mel Gibson, and Mel Gibson has like a real big hard-on for serious graphic violence.
Yeah, the problem with the violence in Hacksaw Ridge is that it's racist. Like,
Jesus Christ, I didn't know that.
Well, what's the other one? It's about fighting the Japanese and.
Of course it is.
What was the Vietnam thing? I'm trying to remember. Was it the Vietnam one that I think he did too? The violence.
We were soldiers.
Yeah, I think that one has
he directed that though. Did he? I can't
remember. I think it's that one. There's like a napalm thing that is fucking disgusting.
Oh man.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of Vietnam movies, they almost do it too realistically. Which, from one point of view, it's like, yeah, you should, because that's a war that like
kind of fucked up.
It gets cleaned up a lot, like. We kind of don't realize that that's...
Here's the thing, like, you can clean that war up all you want, but, like, the more I think about that war in particular, like, let's say I get a minor gunshot wound, which is still pretty serious. Mm-hmm. I'm in a disgusting, humid, swampy, gross, bug-infested, illness-crawling jungle. I'm dead. Like,
I'm just talking about what we did, what our country
did.
Like some of the things that we did, it's like, that's Nazi Germany.
Oh, first of all, like napalm is an inhumane weapon that should have never been. It's what is it?
Yeah.
Liquid fire, basically.
It's liquid fire, and it's also the same. It's the same chemicals that were used in World War II by the Nazis. Or in
it's basically isn't like it's petroleum. Yeah, it's Vaseline that is on fire and it burns you, and it
sticks to you too.
The more you try to burn it off, you can't burn it off.
It goes and suffocates you.
Yeah, you're just spreading it.
Between that and like Agent Orange, and then I don't know, the massive amounts of rape.
Exactly.
Vietnam was industrial killing, industrial violence on a level that I don't think America has not participated in really since. Not on the same level.
We thought it was a really good idea to make 2 really bad video games based off that war.
Yep.
Shell Shock Nam 67 and Shell Shock Nam 67 2. Which was a zombie game class.
Of course it was. But yeah.
Because zombies.
Yeah, gore, when it's handled well, I'm fine with. On the Bone Tomahawk thing, that director's follow-up movie is a movie called Brawl in Cell Block 99. Oh, yeah. It's a far better movie because all the gore is in context and it all has a purpose. So, this isn't a spoiler. At some point, you see a man get shot in the head by a shotgun at point blank range. And it is super graphic. And you see it all. But they've set up why that character might possibly deserve that. The character in question. And it works. You're fine with it. It does still give you that sense of I need to look away. But the context is there to support that decision.
Yeah, like RoboCop.
It happens in Mindhunter too, but it's not bad. You know what I mean? It's not like
Mindhunter. Wait, the movie, the TV show,
the TV show. Yeah, the TV show.
I was I think I'm one of the only people who ever saw Mindhunters with fucking.
Nope. I have seen that as well. I believe I own it on DVD
with Val Kilmer and Christian Slater.
Oh wait. Yes.
Okay, so what's the twist of that one again?
I was mixing it up also.
Okay, all right. So Mindhunters actually is not. I think it's a pretty rad movie. It's the cast is pretty wild. It has the dude from Elementary in it too. The guy who plays
the one that was married to Angelina Jolie from Hackers.
Yes, him. Val Kilmer, Christian Slater, and a few other people. I can't remember. Is LL Cool J in that movie too?
Yes, this was right when Val Kilmer was getting fat.
Yeah,
because you really only see him on a TV screen. I think for most of it.
It's a bunch of serial killer profilers.
Have you seen all of his horror movies, Connor? Because
I've only seen Betwixt, and I thought it was god awful.
So you never saw Halloween Resurrection, and you've never seen?
No, I'm sorry. I thought you meant Val Kilmer. Never mind.
No.
LL Cool J. I've seen all of LL Cool J's hits.
All of his horror films because I really want to know
Toys. And,
I've seen
toys.
I've seen Toys too many times.
So Mindhunters is about these basically these serial killer profilers who are kind of they're like you know how CSI is they're crime scene investigators, but they're also all trained with firearms, and they're also all cops, and they're also all detectives, and they all wear multiple hats. It's kind of like that. They're serial killer profilers, but they're also FBI agents who also have combat training. So they go to this island.
They stick them on. They stick them on Roanoke Island.
Yeah, they stick them on an island for a field exercise, which suddenly becomes real, and then it turns out one of them is actually a serial killer, and it's basically he's hunting them all on this island. But he's using their own techniques as profilers against them.
Right.
And there's 35 red herrings.
Which is an idea. Is an idea that's not bad, but 35.
And since it's an old movie and it's not
so it just had temper.
It's they set up Val Kilmer to be the villain, and then they play audio of him going you'll never get out of this alive, ha 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 ha, and he's doing this really lame villain laugh. But then it's extrapolated from the video of him being tortured by the actual serial killer, and he's you'll never get this island alive, and then he just is murdered. Christian Slater is killed within the first 25 minutes by being blasted from the torso down with liquid with nitrogen, and then his body freezes and he snaps in two.
Wow. Okay, let's talk about this for a second. What hell did Terminator 2 bring onto the world?
Hey man,
it's really awesome looking though.
It works really awesome at the end of Demolition Man.
It's also one of my favorite moments in Hot Shots Part 2. Okay,
yeah,
because Saddam Hussein and his dog are frozen. They melt like T-1000 and they fuse into a Saddam Hussein like fucking Shih Tzu mutant.
He ends up turning out to look like what's the name from Spaceballs?
He looks like Barf. It's so fucking funny. And his men are like, "Oh my god, what happened to your face?" But then like it turns out like the villain is the dude from fucking Hackers and Elementary, and then he has like a fucking kung fu fight with like the last surviving like profiler on, and then her and LL Cool J both leave.
Awesome.
It's basically
I'm gonna watch this tonight, probably.
It's the exact same ending from Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah, like it's
the
not
same director.
Okay, I'm into this. I am.
And I heard too.
Yeah, LL Cool J, and then copy and paste white person next to him. But escape.
It's so weird.
I
can't believe they made a fucking Deep Blue Sea sequel, and they didn't call it the Deep Blue sequel.
Here's the thing. I'm still angry. I'm still angry at that movie because why not bring back LL Cool J and just release it? Why not? Why not?
Well, the thing is, like, they also they also made a sequel, and you watch the trailer, you go, "This is the same fucking movie."
Right.
Down to the fact that you show me a black man in a scuba suit giving a motivational speech next to a giant opening in the water.
Yeah,
Fuck
but he's not.
You. How fucking dare you? Like, but then again, like if you go watch the there's a trailer out there for the Deeper Blue. There's a trailer out there for the Cabin Fever remake that already came out and was dead on arrival. It is almost literally a shot-for-shot, line-for-line remake of Cabin Fever.
I still don't understand.
Cabin Fever is like only 15 years old.
Here's the thing. That one has pissed me off more than anything.
Is that with Ashton Kutcher?
No, it's No, Cabin Fever is the one where the kids get like the disease that causes their skin to start to fall.
It's with the kid from Boy Meets World.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Somehow conflated with Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah. No, you know what? I get it. But yeah, no, like, and then they remade that. But the only one that's ever been like, why the fuck are you doing this? Is they're still talking about remaking, not Insomnia, Christopher Nolan's first movie,
which I don't even like, dude. That was the only Nolan movie I saw that I was instantly put off by and just hated it.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see somebody
not that good at all. I was like, this is a Nolan movie. It doesn't feel like one at all.
Yeah, that movie. So I think that's a movie that is, if you take the concept away, which is time is rewinding on him, we are watching the movie out of order. If you take that away, it's kind of a nothing movie.
Yeah.
Like kind of just a generic crime thriller type of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think a lot of people, that whole playing with time thing, it's still kind of interesting.
Which movie are you talking about?
Insomnia?
No, not Memento. I'm talking about Memento.
I love Memento. I don't like Insomnia at all.
Yeah. No, I was just saying Insomnia was the first movie I could think of the title of. Sorry. I couldn't think of Memento's title for some reason.
Memento was like a thing of its time.
But they're trying to remake Memento. That was my point.
But how? You have cell phones now. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's there.
That movie works because there aren't cell phones.
Unless you're making a sequel to Memento. That would be fascinating.
Yes.
If they made a sequel to Memento like 20 years later and he's still doing it and the movie's like a horror movie. Like, he's this guy that forgets.
They did make a horror movie version. It's called 50 First Dates.
Actually, I think I remember liking that movie, but I was like 10. So what do I know?
Where Adam Sandler the rapist?
Wait,
wow,
what?
That was fucking hardcore.
Yeah.
Adam Sandler. Never mind. It's too high concepts of a joke.
Adam Sandler is a predatory opportunist, is what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's It's the one where he sails around Hawaii because
with Sean Astin, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
And they keep making jokes about how he has wet dreams.
Never mind. I hate this film now.
Yeah, I really detest this film, and I want to get back to talking about bad remakes or unnecessary ones.
But if they remade 51st Dates, I think we'd all be there for it. Am I wrong?
With Kevin Hart.
Well, and like,
oh my God.
if we're gonna delve into remakes, I just don't think are necessary. Like, no sooner than people had someone breathed the first bit of hype over Train to Busan. A news article broke like American remake on the way. I was like, just release the Korean version in theaters, you fucking idiots.
No one will watch it though. Unfortunately,
no, I will. I'll go watch it 30 fucking times.
I agree. We'll both go watch it many times. I get why that one is one that you remake.
But no one will watch it. No one will watch the remake.
They're going to remake it, and they're going to suck every bit of emotional tension from that film and release this hollow, bastardized zombie film that has no charm or soul whatsoever.
Right. Yeah.
The thing is, we'll probably get the sequel at the same time, and the sequel will play in theaters because it's because the first one did so well. So
kind of like
so I'm excited for that. It's not like a sequel; it's like a movie that happens at the same time from the same director.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and who here hasn't seen Train to Busan? Because holy shit,
I have not seen it yet, but I did just go to a Korean grocery store yesterday, so I might rep my heritage tomorrow and watch it.
Train to Busan is the only zombie movie I've ever seen that brought out like emotions from way deep within that I've never experienced during a zombie film. I've never been profoundly sad during a zombie film and was like legitimately touched.
Yeah.
But sincerely it brought to a point where I was like, I am gonna break because this is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
The movie is a masterclass is like making you care about a character in like 5 seconds.
Like everyone I saw who had a shred of decency in that movie was almost instantly likable for reasons that are completely intangible. The big ass husband who had a wife who was expecting, and he's like, my wife is locked in a train car fucking 3 cars away, and it's filled with those things, and I need to go get her from there. You're going to help me. And then he duct tapes both of his arms, and he's already a brick shithouse to begin with. And then he walks to the first car and is literally picking zombies up off the ground and slamming them into the ceiling and then bringing them back down like he's a fucking pro wrestler. I was like, this movie is my shit. And then
amazing.
And then he's with a young terrified baseball player who's just like frantically swinging at these things, hoping to not die. And the protagonist, which is a father who they build up in like 5 minutes as this. You feel fucking horrible for this guy because he's like a salary man, like he's always working and shit like that. And it's his daughter's birthday, so he brings her a Nintendo Wii, and she looks at him and she looks at her desk and she already has one, and I'm like, oh fuck, And she's like, I don't want to spend any time with you. I want to see mom. And so the whole point of the movie is that he's taking her to see he is like, fine, we'll go see mom. So they get in a train to Busan where her mother lives, and that's when this whole thing happens. And over the course of this film, he is just trying to be a fucking good father.
Yep.
And he's doing everything he can to protect his little girl's life, and that's the crux of the movie. And meanwhile, like, you have fucking 28 Days Later zombies bursting through every fucking glass window you can think of.
Yeah. But they're more intense than that. They're 28 Days Later zombies meet the zombies from World War Z almost.
Yeah, because they body like I think what is it, a bunch of them are they're standing they're a bunch of them pressed against windows above a train car, and then more of them keep pressing against these windows, and then more and more and more, and the glass breaks and they spill out over the train.
Yeah, and they do that thing
like fucking bugs.
Yeah, they do that thing where they like hold things. Yeah, like they almost stop a train that's trying to get away from them.
There's a train car that's fleeing, and one of them grabs onto the the end of it, and it's dragging him. And then a second one, and a third one, and a fifth, and a seventh, and an 11th, and a 15th, and a 20th. And by the time now you have this mass of bodies clinging onto each other.
It's like ants.
Physically dragging this train to a halt.
Yeah.
It's really scary.
See, my first thought when I hear this is that I think like really good horror movies come from places that have at least like have closeness to like actual real horror. I think that's why to me, a lot of the American horror films just fall flat. Maybe that's why this is good, because in my mind, you say Korean movie with zombies and they're chasing them. It's like, well, I bet you there's a lot of things that connect to like North Korea and South Korea there.
Maybe, and that would fly over my head because it's not something I'm intimate with.
Well, yeah, there's even just there's this level of like of real human characters, and
that's the
sure that part. I think
and like when characters you like get bitten, you're like, oh God, no! It's gut wrenching.
And there's a real problem with like the super big budget American films or the really small ones that just don't have any time, is they don't have any of that depth.
And then I think another part of Train to Busan is that there are villains outside the zombies. There's a whole front train car full of the wealthy and the affluent and the well-off. And at some point, like, kind of, but at some point, like, someone makes it to the front of that train car and someone walks up to the door and just closes the curtain on her so nobody can see her.
Oh.
And then she gets devoured.
Yep. Yeah. And on the whole thing of, like, remaking that movie, I think it would be incredibly hard. I think you would need to take the terrifying bits of it and translate everything else.
The other part of it is, if you put it where, I'm assuming you're putting it in America, where the hell are there trains that you could do a whole movie in America?
It needs to be New York to New Jersey, I guess.
That's like a 40-minute ride.
Oh my God. That's a dangerous trip to begin with. You don't need zombies.
Yeah, that's true.
As soon as you pass through Camden, you're like, oh, fuck.
Here's the thing. If they took out zombies completely and made it something completely different, I would actually be like, that's some balls.
It's just a bunch of homeless people.
No, it's just like a bunch of like
fascinating.
You make like the fucking Warriors, just gangs.
Yeah, you just get a bunch of like hipsters that accidentally get dropped off in Camden. You got to survive the night.
You know what the remake is going to be? It's going to be that same movie that's the train going to Busan, but with like Matt Damon on board or like Mark Wahlberg.
Oh my God. Well, the one thing I can say is like there's a reason that they do those movies. And that's because the Asian market, specifically China, want to see American like superstar actors.
Yeah, that's
the reason why you get the Great Wall.
Yeah, the Great Wall is a very weird experiment.
Yeah, it's like the 2015, whenever it came out, version of those like weird Japanese commercials. It's the same reason that they do those.
It's a lot like the thing that I've been trying to segue to for 20 minutes now. It's a lot like the movie Mile 22, which I recently saw.
Oh shit! With my fucking boy, who should have been front and center of the marketing material. I don't care how good the movie is. Like, you should have put his face on shit.
So here's the thing: I was with you before seeing the movie.
Oh man, it's that bad, isn't it?
No. After seeing the movie, I know why he's not in it as much.
Is he a treat, or is he like just barely in it?
He's in it a lot, but if they marketed too much, they would give away some things.
Okay.
Some important plot details.
Because I saw that trailer that I tagged you in on Instagram where it's just Eco fucking people up in a hospital room, and I completely separated that movie from Mark Wahlberg entirely.
Yeah.
Because what I was watching was like, I'm like, this looks like the fucking Raid. Like, this is awesome.
That's the only scene you can show without starting to give things away. Because this is a movie where everything you think is going to happen based off the trailer happens. A lot of things that you will never expect happen in this movie as well. So, I mean, just for example, how many of you, if you had to guess, how many of you would say that Russia has any involvement in the plot of this movie? If you have to guess.
Well, I mean, considering the current political climate, absolutely.
Hunter?
Yeah.
I mean, now that you said that, like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
okay.
It makes sense.
For a movie that, from the trailer, looks like a contained, like, heist movie, kind of. But, like, it's them racing against time, and they have to get him out. It's not a movie that you would expect there to be some sort of deeper thing going on, but there is, and there are twists and turns in this movie that you will not see coming. But also at the same time, if I'm the producer of the American remake of The Raid, and I go to see this movie, I would first I would crap myself or shit yourself, whatever word you want to use, and then I would go back to my office and tell everybody to stop shooting because our lunch has been eaten. Because this movie is basically an American remake of The Raid in every way that matters.
Oh, that's really unfortunate.
Like everything that you would want an American remake of The Raid to be is in this movie already. Like the action is really well done. Iko Uwais has a really interesting part in the movie, and there are a lot of plot aspects of this movie that are very similar to The Raid 1. There are also some elements of this movie that are very similar to The Raid 2 that I won't go too deep into because it
do not spoil The Raid. I think The Raid 2 is fucking incredible.
Yes. So, yeah, it's a movie that's like, whatever you think Mile 22 is going to be, it is that, because that's the thing. Some of the dialogue's really bad. Mark Wahlberg is miscast.
I was going to ask how bad on a scale I was going to ask, how bad is Ronda Rousey in this movie?
She's not even the worst. She's not even that bad, honestly. Like, I would say the worst thing is some of the dialogue. She barely talks. And her scenes are really well done.
That's the best way to use her, just like Gina Carano. Don't give her many lines, and if you do, just make them kind of flat.
Also, a lot of her scenes are with Lauren Cohen. That's the other thing.
Okay. Because Gina Carano they did a whole movie where they overdubbed her.
Yeah, they don't do that.
Offensive.
They just pair her with an actress who's far better than her, but who has the ability to make bad actors look better. Because that's what Lauren Cohen did on The Walking Dead in half the time.
Which is really like you wouldn't expect that from like someone who at this point is kind of an afterthought in The Walking Dead because she's leaving the show, and two, like. Her one of her anchor characters has been brutally murdered, and then the showrunner's like, well, I guess there's nothing to do with Maggie now. Like,
yeah. So her purpose is kind of like, let's stick her with the person of the week, and she'll make them look good. And she does that in this movie. She makes Ronda Rousey not bad, and I bet she learned quite a bit.
I wish the WWE would do the same.
Yeah, that would be difficult, though. Very difficult.
Well, here's not to get too much into that, but here's why it's difficult. Because in the movie industry, you have people who have honed their craft, who can give young and upcoming actors, or people who come from a different field, like sound advice that actually makes sense because they're interested in their development and growth. In the wrestling industry, you have a bunch of failed TV writers and a bunch of idiot troglodyte morons who are only in the business because they saved a car full of burning tapes at some point in the fucking 90s and it would promise a job for life, who don't know shit about TV production or movie making or anything, giving people advice. And that's why Ronda Rousey is terrible in regards to a visual performance in wrestling. She gets the physical parts down like amazingly. She treats it very seriously. She can fucking beat somebody's ass and look convincing. But then when she grabs a microphone, you're like, oh dear God, slit both of my wrists.
You also get multiple takes in a movie.
Exactly. And in wrestling, you get maybe, unless it's a backstage segment, you get a few.
Yeah.
But like when you're out in front of a crowd and you've been coached all the wrong ways, you're gonna suck.
Yeah.
And there's also issues for forever with her.
Is the text bad, or is she just bad at talking?
She has that too. She's not that great. She's like, some people were born, especially in wrestling, like being born with the gift of gab is an essential tool to be successful in the industry, which then lends to crossover stars like John Cena and The Rock,
and
who can make it. And Batista, who is like the most surprising transition of all time, because Batista was like, the entire wrestling fan base was like, fuck Batista. And then Guardians happened, they're like, oh, unfuck Batista. Like,
well, the other thing is, for forever, into her UFC days, she has had a problem with having yes men around her.
Yes,
the entire time.
Yep.
And it tanked her UFC career, and it is probably the same thing that is going on now.
Yeah.
She has never been good at criticism because she's exceeded at everything until she failed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was because go ahead, Arlen, and then I'll finish my point on Rhonda.
No, she's fine in this. Like, I've seen, her stuff in Fast and the Furious 7 is worse. Like, much worse.
So I've heard it's pretty bad until she fights Michelle Rodriguez, and then it's pretty entertaining because that's what she's supposed to do, is just throw punches.
Yeah, but her lines in that movie are just...
Well, there's a reason why she had a bunch of movies lined up, and then they all went away, like Roadhouse remake.
Yeah. That was... I don't know why that happened. But anyways, like, Mile 22, I'll say this. It's a movie that I definitely suggest people watch, but you don't have to rush. But, like... And also, that's the other thing. If you know Peter Berg's movies, and if you're even like kind of like any of them, or if you just hate them, that should tell you whether you should avoid this movie or not. Like, if you saw Lone Survivor and you were like, I don't like anything this movie's doing, I think it's racist, or I think it's really like propaganda-y.
It's like one step away from those like terrible Clint Eastwood movies where he's like, we cast the real soldiers.
Yeah, like it's
the American version of those Jesus movies.
Why did he ever think that was a good idea?
Because somebody gave him a lot of money.
Because he's old.
At some point after Gran Torino, which I think is his like one of his last truly great films, even if it's like now you watch it and you go, it's a little racist, even if your character kind of dies on the cross, like he goes out as a decent man because he does put his ass out for a minority family. But the rest of the film him like calling people gooks, and it's just the most like fucking uncomfortable shit now, because especially when he comes out with his like insane right wing like rhetoric. Yeah. It's like oh no.
I don't know. As someone who's Asian, it is still less uncomfortable than watching the reality show his wife and children did that he was part of.
The thing with Clint Eastwood and like military movies is he's like the live embodiment of like that really, really bad tweet some guy did, I think. That's like, I can be the only one thinking that if our troops made a football team, they will dominate the NFL or something.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah. If our troops did anything, they would have,
He's like,
they do realize that there's like college football teams, right? For Army and Navy, and they lose all the time.
Yeah, they also realize that some of these people who are in the NFL are freaks of nature, and like no military training could probably eat one of these dudes alive. Like, like I don't know how many of these dudes have been hit by a 400-pound linebacker, but
somebody who's like 6'7", 280 pounds, that can run like a 4.5.
Yeah, like, exactly. Like I like even like God, like Kimbo Slice, who was like not a trained athlete, was still like one of the most scary individuals I've ever seen, because I think someone did a test video where they let Kimbo Slice do a fucking running tackle on him just to see what it looked like on film. It's petrifying.
Well, he tried. He was a college football guy before he got into street fighting. Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, because Kimbo Slice fucking destroyed this poor guy.
When Kimbo Slice became a thing, he was like 37, because he only died when he was like 45. And that was
his death is really unfortunate, because I think it was directly related to his fight in Bellator that went really badly.
Oh, that last one with his Dada 3000?
Yeah. Okay. I want to talk about this fight real fast for those who haven't seen it, which is probably most of us. I think it's just me and you. Okay, so Bellator is the other MMA company that's on TV. It's not UFC, but it's where like people who fail in UFC go to like fucking get paid.
They are. This is before they sold, because I think they're owned by CBS or whoever now.
Yeah. And Bellator is desperate for money fights, so they'll put like old ass Ken Shamrock against like old ass Hoist Gracie, and like there's like blatant low blows and like illegal shit going on, and like lots of fucking just nonsensical stuff between two old men.
And they definitely do not test for anything.
Yeah, oh god, no. So Dada 3000 was this chunky.
Wait.
Yeah, yes. So yes. Kimbo Slice. His name is Dada 3000.
Why?
And hang on. It gets even better, okay? So we all know who Kimbo Slice is, right? Everyone knows who Kimbo Slice is.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so Kimbo Slice was put against this guy named Dada 3000, who was also like, he's a big chunk. He's a fucking big, like, he's a frightening looking heavyweight. He's a heavy set guy. He's built like a fucking barrel. And you'd think if he hit you, you'd probably go down. And they hyped up this fight, and he did these like little video packages where he's like, I am nothing but pure kinetic explosivity, and all kinds of stuff like that.
just to time out, the reason that they got him is there is a documentary on Netflix by the guy who did Cocaine Cowboys called Dogfight. And basically, because Kimbo Slice started off in backyard street fights for YouTube and everything in Miami, Dada 3000 was the guy who organized all of this.
Yeah.
So he's the star of that doc, and that's why they set up this fight, because he used to represent
Yeah,
Kimbo.
so Kimbo Slice is, like, at this point, is in his 40s, and is not, he's a heavyweight, and heavyweights are not designed to go 5 rounds. They never were. I don't care how good he looks, his cardio sucks. And Dada 3000...
He's a mediocre heavyweight.
Yeah, he's not that great. Like he seemed like a wonderful human being, but he was an atrocious professional fighter. So then you have that, who he failed from the UFC. Like he was beaten. Well, no, he has one UFC victory against Houston Alexander.
Yeah, he was on the reality show and he was awesome on it, and he came off great, but he just couldn't hang. He was too old.
He's a really nice sounding dude, and that's why I think his death sucks. So he's against this dude named Dada 3000. 5,000? 3,000? Who cares? 5,000. Okay. So this fight doesn't end with decision. This fight with both men gassing within the first round and Dada 5000 collapsing, unable to continue, is hospitalized because he was so out of shape.
Okay.
Could not fight.
Connor, you were right, but you are actually missing the really hilarious part of the story. They had to end the fight for medical reasons because Dada 5000 had 2 heart attacks in the cage.
Whoa! Whoa!
And he's still alive.
And he's still alive. And that fight is one of the reasons why Kimbo Slice probably ended up dying later. I think his body was just going to fucking quit.
No, he died like 6 months after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were both in their like mid-40s.
And Dada has not fought since. And this is like 3-4 years ago.
Well,
Kimbo's son fights. Kimbo's son fights. But I would actually say if you haven't watched it and you're at all interested in like the weirdness of Miami, I can't remember the director's name, but he did both Cocaine Cowboys movies. He did a 30 for 30 on the University of Miami. And then he did this movie. He does like he's from Miami, so all his docs are about Miami.
Right.
It is beyond insane. Because there's been I think there's 4 actual UFC fighters that have come out of this Miami street fighting thing.
Man, there's something about like fighters who just fucking like completely fail. It's very entertaining. Like, who knows who Bob Sapp is?
I do.
I've heard the name.
Okay, Bob Sapp is a fucking gigantic human being who got famous in Japan in Pride.
Pride, yeah. Think about Brock Lesnar, but black and bigger.
Like wider. He's a holy shit, this dude's huge man.
I'm looking at this dude, yeah.
Now, you'd think that Bob Sapp would be a very scary fighter. Bob Sapp started off rather impressive, and I think for the last 7 years has lost every fight because somebody in better shape comes up, takes him down, and tags him a few times, and then Bob Sapp puts on a crybaby face and taps out.
Yeah,
every single time.
He quit MMA basically to do Japanese pro wrestling, and then he was crazy famous in Japan because he was literally the only he couldn't go anywhere and not be Bob Sapp because he was a 6'7", 380-pound black man.
Right, and that's the industry he belongs in because he doesn't have to. Because in wrestling, they can make you not do anything or at least do the bare minimum, and you can still be a huge success because less is more when you're a big dude. You don't have to do anything. You can like the great Khali, who I think everyone's seen in Get Smart. He's the massive Indian dude.
He's huge.
Yeah,
huge. He was in The Longest Yard. He's a huge. He's a big celebrity in India. His name's Dalip Singh. He got picked up by WWE, but he's so big that his legs don't fucking work. So basically, they built him on the idea that he would just walk up to people and take his massive frying pan size hand and club you in the face and knock you out.
Yep.
Well, and if you did that in real life, that would happen.
Exactly. He fucking
apparently he's like a really nice dude.
He is. But here's the sad thing about that: Dalip Singh accidentally killed a man during wrestling training.
Damn.
And it was not his fault. It was the fault of the guy who actually died. This dude was training and took a bad bump and got a concussion.
Ooh.
And this is before concussion awareness was as good as it is now. And I guess either didn't go to the hospital voluntarily, was like, hey, you should go get checked out. And he was like, no, I'm fine. Or didn't, or like everyone around him was like, you're good. I can't remember which one it was. But then a few days later, got into the ring with Dalip Singh, and Dalip Singh gave him like a regular move, like a regular slam. Guy landed on his head, dead instantly.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's one of the issues. I don't know if he was training in the States, but like there's a lot of weirdness, especially with all the Japanese stuff. There's in between the wrestling and MMA in Japan forever. There's so many amazing, horrible stories.
Trust me,
because there's so much Yakuza involvement.
That's the thing. I've talked about my favorite wrestling promotion from Japan, Dragon Gate. It's awesome. It's like fucking anime and video games made a wrestling promotion. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. And then, I saw their boss, their president one day. I'm like, that is a very seriously intimidating-looking man for being the president of a company. And he's always got his collar popped, and, I've seen him throw strikes. I'm like, he's a little good at that.
Yeah. I can't remember what the fighter's name, but there was, Rogan talked to somebody, and the guy was like, yeah, they legitimately put in their contract in bold lettering, we do not test for anything, and we'll try to convince people to move up in weight classes. And there was 100% thrown fights and all sorts of craziness. And the thing with Dragon Gate is that they have a gym called Mid-Breath. And for a very long time, Mid-Breath has been... It's called Mid-Breath. And for a long time, people were like the word in the street was like, yeah, Mid-Breath is actually a front for steroid distribution. I'm sure.
And then I heard later on that their president, who I've already described, as a rather frightening-looking man, while being very friendly-looking, like I can describe this now because I've played this game and now that I've kind of exposed this culture. He looks like a Yakuza member because he fucking is one.
That's a hilarious story. So I can't remember when it was 15 years ago. UFC bought Pride, which was a Japanese company, and then after they bought it, the lawyers went over it and they realized they basically bought a backlog of videos because all of the contracts were insanely illegal. And they were all voided once they got brought to the States.
Yep. Yeah.
And then the guys that sold it.
Then Okamura allegedly was a Yakuza member. I can't confirm or deny that.
Yeah, the guys that sold it, again, probably, maybe, possibly, very much so, were part of Yakuza. Then formed another company and brought all their fighters over there. I think it's called 1FC now, which is where basically guys go to do all the steroids they can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing. WWE doesn't test for anything. Okay, WWE tells the public they test for stuff, but you look at Brock Lesnar and go, no, you don't.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
He also fights in the UFC. It says, we're going to test him for everything.
And then he fails.
Yeah.
But then, you have dudes Randy Orton's a name that might be familiar with people who have either watched wrestling or used to watch it or may have come across it. Randy Orton... Yes, he's in the RKO out of nowhere meme. Randy Orton is wrestling royalty because his father was a wrestler, his father's father was a wrestler, his father's father was a wrestler. It's blah, blah, blah. He's like The Rock, but way less talented. Randy Orton, the company has a 3-strike policy in regards to wellness failures. And you're supposed to lose your job on your 3rd strike. Randy Orton's on his 8th strike.
Yep.
But every time he gets what's obviously a strike, the company releases this very bizarre PR thing where it's Randy Orton got into a motorcycle accident and will be gone for the next
I remember that
60
shit.
days. Exactly 60 days. He'll be fine in 60 days.
So it plays into one of the most famous sports conspiracies with Michael Jordan. Same thing.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, you've never heard that?
No.
There's a ton of podcasts that talk about the conspiracy theory. So his year break from the NBA, because they three-peated, then he went to play baseball, and then he came back and three-peated, was an unofficial suspension because of his gambling.
Oh, yeah, no, I've heard about this.
And then, which also ended up why his dad was murdered, because his dad was actually murdered.
Yeah, because gambling.
Whoa, what?
No.
Yeah, there's it's mostly BS, but the conspiracy theory is amazing.
That year was spent saving the Looney Tunes.
Yes.
Goddamn fucking
beating the monsters.
God fucking
yes.
We're on a podcast.
I've seen the
Looney Tunes lovers.
I've seen the movie. You can't tell me differently.
It's history. It's written in the book.
God damn it!
It's a documentary.
Yeah,
clearly.
yeah, and Bill Murray was there. Wink, wink. Like,
right.
Well,
He's there.
Murray
Okay,
would be
he's
there.
there.
He is everywhere.
I recently
And-
watched that movie drunk. Bill Murray's great in that film.
He
That's
is
all I will
awesome.
say.
Wayne Knight is also in that movie for
Terrible
some
movie.
reason.
Bill Murray's great in everything. I don't think Bill Murray's been bad in really anything.
No, because he shows up as like, I'm Bill
Has
Murray.
he? Hold on, let's go with this. Has Bill Murray truly been terrible in anything?
He's phoning it in Ghostbusters 2.
Very
That's
much
okay.
so.
All right.
He's like, yes.
Yeah.
That's
But Bill Murray phoning it in Ghostbusters 2 feels like Peter Venkman on every day of his life.
yeah.
So like, it doesn't faze me at all because I'm like,
Yeah.
even comparing performances, like, no, Peter Venkman is a slacker jerk off who has a big mouth and is looking to do the least amount of work possible in any situation. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. I've heard people accuse him of phoning it in for the Ghostbusters video game, and having replayed that recently, I want to punch every one of those people in the dick because he's fantastic in that game and has had nothing but sweet things to say about that game, which is more than you can say about anything else regarding Bill Murray and Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but I'm going to assume he was phoning it in Garfield and Garfield 2.
Well, probably.
Yeah, I can confirm that because he thought so. Okay, he was doing like a dark version of Garfield. Like he thought he was doing because the name of the guy who wrote it, his name was Cohen. So he thought he was working with the Coen brothers. So he thought he was doing like a dark recreation of Garfield.
Bill Murray he's a wonderful story about doing the Ghostbusters game where he was on, I think it was The Daily Show, or he was on Conan O'Brien, and he's talking about doing the game, and he said it was really fun. He had a great time, and he said it put him back in a very nostalgic mood, which is like wonderful to hear because you always hear about him being volatile towards Ghostbusters.
Well,
he
was volatile because of his relationship with
Harold Ramis.
They
fell out hard after Groundhog Day.
Yeah, which then to hear that all of them working together in like this, like a fucking sound booth, I think they did come in, and work together, briefly. I think the only person who didn't come back was Sigourney Weaver because Sigourney Weaver said later on she completely misunderstood what the game was. Mm-hmm. And that's why she was replaced with fucking Alyssa Milano.
Right. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah,
that's really perfect casting though. It's really same level of talent there.
Yeah.
You know?
But Bill Murray said he left recording one day and he was kind of on the street and he said he was kind of sitting there and he said I was such in such a mood I start going and he said he looks over and there's a stranger looking dead at him and goes, "Dude, let it go," and walks away from him.
Very good. It's very good.
I'm sorry.
I always think about that. It's like poor fucking Bill Murray finally gets nostalgic about the one thing that he's been so bitter about for a long time, and then someone tells him to let it go.
What a douche.
I'm sorry. I'm just imagining fucking a gritty Garfield remake.
This summer. That's been in my head, but also
Liam Neeson.
Because I rewatched Infinity War, the phrase "Fallout Hard" only reminds me of Infinity War. So I'm imagining Bill Murray as Iron Man now.
Oh my god!
Wait, what phrase?
Fallout Hard. Because that just.
Oh yeah, in regards to.
Yeah. Like,
I was actually thinking about that today because there's a lot of like, I guess we can pivot to like a post Infinity War discussion real quick because they've like since the DVDs come out, like a lot of cool information's come out from the writers.
Yeah.
Just before we do, I just want to talk about the one Bill Murray movie where everyone is phoning it in.
Right.
Just think about this cast, okay? George Clooney, Matt Damon, Bill Murray, John Goodman, Jean Dujardin, Kate Blanchett, and that movie fucking sucks.
I've never watched it.
Yeah. Boring.
It seemed like that
only good people.
That movie had no reason to be boring, and it is.
Yeah, exactly.
But like the Infinity War writers during the commentary, I guess, like gave out all this nice bits of information, and they said like Tony has that phone because he is in stark denial. Haha.
God damn
of the Avengers.
Fuck off.
You're
fired.
You're fired.
That was completely unintentional. He is in denial and wants to keep the Avengers together in any which way he can. So he believes that having that phone on him at all times is the one way he can say that the Avengers are still a thing.
Yeah. So
which is a really cool character trait. I'm like, that's so interesting because Tony Stark gets more fascinating as these movies go on.
They reveal a lot of interesting stuff. So like that, the baby Gamora at the end, that is a projection of her spirit. So it's basically a copy of her soul. Essentially.
Because where Gamora lands, there is other blood spatter.
Mm-hmm.
There are other stains where people have fallen. And I think Screen Rant put up a whole article about like, let's dive into the idea of like who in the larger Marvel universe could fit into the MCU and which one of them may have attempted to get the Soul Stone. The list is like bonkers. It's a bunch of people I don't know because it's all like weird cosmic Marvel people.
The only one the only one that pops in my head is the High Evolutionary.
Yeah.
Because of Rocket's existence, it definitely makes me think of that.
I wouldn't be surprised if Ronan is in there. Because how did Gamora find out where it is?
Howard the Duck. He's got some on the eyes.
As weird as it is, yes.
Yeah. I can see it. He sacrificed his duck life.
You just made that so concrete. It's not even funny. It's like, it's as weird as it is. Yeah, totally.
But the thing is, that's where Marvel is at this point, where it's like, oh, we're going to do this. It's like, it sounds dumb, but
I trust you.
You made a talking raccoon and a talking tree work.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing.
3 times.
People so it gets brought up sometimes, the idea of doing Howard the Duck movie again. And people are against it. And at this point, I'm like, I'm into it.
Why not? Fuck it.
Here's the thing. If it fails, I wouldn't even blink. I'm like, it's fucking Howard the Duck. Like, what did you expect? But if it succeeded, I'd be like, well, that Marvel can do anything. Like,
also, there's I think it's like a 2.5 hour movie that exists where you can just point and be like, don't do that.
If they took it so serious and did like a noir, if they took like a real serious like noir pulp comic take on it, it would be the most ridiculous and hilarious and awesome thing ever.
Oh my god, I'm visualizing you specifically like walking towards a giant screen with both of your hands going, this. Don't do any of this. Like moving your hands up and down.
It gets to the part where Jeffrey Jones starts turning into a monster. I'm like, you know what? Maybe do a version of this, but not exactly.
Because I think all of us have a situation similar to that involving different films. like I don't know what Hunters would be. Like I can't.
Mine right now is Fantastic Four.
Oh god!
Don't do
any of this.
Except Hunter's sitting between 3 different small screens. He's like, don't do any of this.
Actually, Mr. Fantastic being able to shapeshift, keep that. That's interesting. There's something there. But everything else, no thank you. No thanks. Let's get rid of it.
If you have a team of 4 people in the title, 2 of the members should probably meet before the final climax.
That's right. The Thing doesn't fucking come across Sue or Johnny at all. Does he?
No, they have a Johnny.
He needs Johnny when they're first going into space or whatever.
Do not make any contact until the final battle.
You know the wildest. Okay, I'm gonna bring this up. I know we're gonna review the movie someday, but I have to bring this up because it's the wildest feeling I've ever had during a movie. When they get the final confrontation with Doom, I was like, "How the fuck did we get here?"
You didn't.
It's almost like there was an entire other hour of the movie that's missing.
It's here's the thing, Hunter. Fuck? I just have to ask. I said, and I think everyone can agree here, that there is a visual suture line in that movie where you can tell that one movie stops and the other one begins. Where is that line?
Is it with the military shit?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's when they cut to a PowerPoint of the dude.
Yes. Oh my god. Yeah. Yes. That is so fucked up because I was watching this what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, it's after Reed escapes, and then it becomes a completely different movie.
That's it. The time jump. The time jump is the stitch where you're like, no, this is a different movie.
Yeah, because of this is getting too far into reviewing. It's but there's how many months have gone on? Because basically they imply that thing has been a.
Oh no! They full on say
they
full on say 1 year later.
Yeah,
but they almost seem to cut back at one point because when Doom shows back up, the movie changes again.
Because they had no ending. They're like, "What do we do?" Yeah. Well, we had this character in the beginning, and then he disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
And they changed his name because it was why?
Well, no, okay, so they changed it to
Domachev.
Domachev, which is just dumb. And he was a hacker originally, which is why
but in the movie, someone says there's ADR. It says oh, I see you got Victor Von Doom for the expedition. It's why was that there?
It was because when news first started leaking out, his name wasn't Doom. It was Domachev, and he was a hacker, like Arlen was saying. And then in their recut, that was definitely a reshot.
My favorite part from that movie is when he's playing Assassin's Creed with his face. That's the strangest. He's sitting at his desk with his hands folded with a fucking little transparent VR thing over his face, and he's playing Assassin's Creed Syndicate. I was like, no, that doesn't work that way. You can't play a video game like Assassin's Creed with your eyeballs. You fucking troglodytes.
I was wondering what he was doing.
But he's a genius, Connor, so he figured it out.
I don't give a fuck. No, he didn't.
He's so smart, he can fix a cash register in Mexico.
He doesn't do anything to the cash register.
The other thing in that movie...
touches it.
The other thing is, Justice League also has a very, visible stitch line where, Joss Whedon came in and was like, I'm going to start ruining everything.
That movie's like Frankenstein.
I hate women.
That movie is more like a Jonah Hex.
Well, yeah. It's you see
where you have
stitch marks.
Where you have two bodies trying to share the same space.
Mm-hmm. But they've been blended. That's the thing.
And I still say that the finale of that movie is the most visually unpleasant thing I've seen in quite some time because it looks like it was filmed inside of a fucking space heater. It's just fucking deep crimson red everywhere, and these obnoxious purples and blues. I'm like, who fucking did this?
What's amazing is how much time was between Justice League and Infinity War? 3 months? 2?
Yeah, barely.
Yeah.
So before that movie was bad. After watching Infinity War, that movie is almost unwatchable. There are flash effects are awesome, but I can't even Steppenwolf is the biggest pile of trash garbage on earth.
There's a great deal of care put into the Flash's special effects. I fucking hate the Blue Lightning. I really hate the Blue Lightning.
I hate this. I like the visualizations of his abilities.
Yeah.
I like the idea of him popping around.
And I like the way he runs, he's putting a lot of actual physical effort into his fucking his movements. His suit is fine with me because it's very DIY and it's supposed to be
I hate his suit.
I don't really like it. It actually looks much better on the page.
It looks.
I saw a cover that featured the Justice League with their movie looks, and I'm like, that suit looks amazing on paper.
It looks. Yeah. Once he gets next to Cyborg, it looks a million times worse because they're too similar. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's too many similarities with the angles in the way that it's transformed.
And actually, I found the place it looks even worse, and it's in the Injustice 2 video game because you got all the Justice League gear when the movie came out, and every now and then they actually bring that back where you can go in the multiverse and unlock that gear if you didn't get it yet. And I put it on Barry, and it makes him look like a bloated mass of nonsense. It's overly bulky. And then you put that helmet on, and those little itty bitty head wings that don't do anything, and it looks like he's wearing a spacesuit that got broken apart on re-entry.
So he looks like a red Savitar.
He looks really bad. But Batman's suit looks amazing in the game.
Batman's design in that whole movie, those movies looks. visually so close to the comic book.
Yeah, but then actually, upon a recent kind of revisit to a couple scenes, because it just pops up in my YouTube feed every once in a while, Superman's suit for some reason looks terrible because there's visible sections where you can see muscle pads. Underneath
Justice League or Man of Steel?
In Justice League.
That's because it was a reshoot.
Yeah.
And Henry Cavill had to slim down for Mission Impossible.
I also think part of it...
Wait. He slimmed down?
Yeah, he slimmed... Well, because for the Justice League movies, he has to go all in, and he has to get to the point where it's I can't run when I'm like this.
He's doing that 300 diet or whatever.
Yeah, he can't... I imagine he can't ride a bicycle. He his muscles just
I think I heard a story about him where he showed up to film Man of Steel, and they're like, here's all these supplements for you to get bigger. And he was like, fuck that. And then went off and just, ate somebody or something. I don't understand what he did.
He lived on a pure diet of tuna fish and beef jerky.
Came back, bigger than they needed him to be.
Mm-hmm.
And which is funny, because the same story I heard about Christian Bale, where he was cast for Batman, but had to go do Machinist, so he dropped all that weight, and then filmed Machinist and came back. They're like, we need you to bulk back up for the suit. And he put on, he was he went down to 110 pounds for the Machinist, and then came back for Batman Begins at 220 pounds of nothing but muscle. And they're like, you don't fit in this, you don't fit in the suit we made for you. You're too fucking big.
After that.
Did you see Christian Bale's recent transformation, going from Cheney to yeah?
Dude, here's the thing. I love Christian Bale, and that is one of his key amazing physical talents, but that's gonna fucking kill him young.
Yeah. At 60, he won't be able to move.
Have you guys seen American Hustle?
No, but I've seen the bits and pieces of it.
The way he looks in that movie is fucking insane.
Him and Gary Oldman are which is funny because they shared. I guarantee you that Bale got this from Oldman, just sharing the set with him for 3 straight movies. Oldman is also a chameleon. Oldman will slide into any role and just transform in all kinds of weird fucking ways. My dad loves Gary Oldman for that reason. He calls him a chameleon.
Oldman's a lot of makeup, though. But it's...
You have to show him the movie where he plays a midget.
Yeah. Oh, God. Oh, God, I forgot about that. What is it called? Small...
Oh, my God, I have to look it up. It is so bad.
So,
I can't remember. Somebody plays Matthew McConaughey is his brother?
No, Peter Dinklage is his brother, I thought.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
No,
what?
He has they're both his brothers.
Is Peter Dinklage normal size?
Yes. No, he's small.
Peter Dinklage is small.
But Peter Dinklage is with
he's
well, he's
he's a hippie and he has dreads. He's like a hoodie, a hood kind of oh my God, it's all bad.
I shouldn't laugh so hard at my own jokes. God damn.
No, that was good. That was really good.
I don't know, Hunter. You've been particularly on fire today.
Yeah, Tiptoes. God fucking damn, it's called Tiptoes.
Oh yeah, Tiptoes.
Fucker. No, Matthew McConaughey's normal size.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's his brother that's normal size that's embarrassed.
Oh, that's right.
And then he ends up hooking up with McConaughey's.
I wanna pivot back to DC stuff, and that we're talking about Matthew McConaughey, because I still want to put it out there that I will not rest until Matthew McConaughey plays the Reverse Flash. I fucking need this to happen. Okay, I need oxygen.
So I've said this before. I want him to play the Matt Lesher. I want him to play
Eobard and not
not Wellsabard.
No, but I want Wells, and I've said this before. I want Wells to be Richard Harris. Not Richard Harris. He's the guy who plays the Great Intelligence in Doctor Who. He's been in a bunch of other things.
Wait, let me see this.
While you're looking at it, here's the rest of the cast of Tiptoes. It's Oldman, Dinklage, Kate Beckinsale, McConaughey, Patricia Arquette.
Oh no, Richard Harris was Dumbledore. He passed away.
I'm thinking of somebody else.
Yeah, it was Dumbledore. Who was the Great Intelligence? I know who. I can visualize this guy.
Yeah, fucking goddamn it, what's his name? Richard E. Grant. Richard E. Grant. That's who I'm thinking of.
Okay, wow. I listened to Great Intelligence and fucking Sir Ian McKellen popped up.
Yeah. Ian McKellen did the voice of him, but then he became Richard E. Grant for the rest of the show. But Richard E. Grant as Wells and Matthew McConaughey as just Eobard. That's a pairing that I think would be very...
Oh, shit. This guy looks like a fucking evil James Woods. Oh, my God.
Wait, what?
Also,
that can
he
happen?
looks a lot
You mean regular James Woods?
Yeah, exactly.
He does, yeah. Just James Woods, but no.
He does have some...
James Woods, good James Woods?
I don't think there's ever been a good James Woods.
Double negative makes a...
Okay, so here's the thing. Richard E. Grant is the Earth 1 James Woods, and James Woods is the evil Earth 2 version, but they swapped at some point.
Yeah.
And our pure James Woods had to go live on Earth 2 as Richard E. Grant, but now he's back, and James Woods has taken his life, so he has to live as Richard E. Grant.
God damn it. Okay,
but he's
Tom Cavanaugh looks a lot like him.
He's got some Cavanaugh. I mean, honestly, like in my fucking... Here's the thing: if this is almost impossible, like if there was a Flash movie and someone had to be that character, and if I was aware that Tom Cavanaugh had that kind of range, because I wasn't fucking prepared for Tom Cavanaugh, JD's loser brother from Scrubs, to be one of the best fucking comic book villains on screen I've ever seen. Like, I would definitely want him to be in the movie, but now he lives for that show, and that's fine with me. Like, he directs episodes, he helps write it, like, it's fine.
Every season he gets to play 5 different versions of the character.
Yeah.
But one of them is Matthew McConaughey.
Which is, like, the closest thing I'm ever going to get to this little pipe dream of mine.
Well,
I would not be surprised if there was, like, Pirate Wells next season.
McConaughey has said many times that he's been offered roles in Marvel and DC, and the script has just never been good enough.
Yeah,
which is not
and here, like Matthew McConaughey.
Check big enough.
Matthew McConaughey is like an actor I really despised like a decade ago.
Well, because he was doing bad movies.
Yeah,
he was a rom-com guy.
He was doing Ghosts of Girlfriend's Past, for fuck's sake.
But I love the way that he talks about it. He's so honest about it. He's like, I was doing some stuff because I was making money, and he says it like that too. But then he's like,
and then like
I started thinking about it and going for more interesting stuff and challenging myself.
Like the
yeah.
Oh boy, no, like I honestly, I think True Detective was when I like really started to like. I think I started to come around him before that, but I saw True Detective and I was like, he is like outclassing everybody in this fucking show, and like Woody Harrelson. And a couple other actors I knew in that show, I knew from other places, and was always impressed with these people. And there's Matthew McConaughey giving this like scary, fucking mystical performance that I just was not fucking ready for at all.
Yeah,
his IMDb has the weirdest turn ever.
Oh yeah,
because he goes from literally Ghost from Girlfriend's Past to Lincoln Lawyer.
Well, it's not. It's movies like I think he's in the movie The Paperboy. I might.
Oh yes, that's like 2 years later. It's like it's Tropic Thunder, Surfer Dude, Ghost of Girlfriend's Past, Lincoln Lawyer, Bernie, Killer Joe, Paperboy, Mud, Magic Mike, Dallas Buyers Club, Wolf of Wall Street, True Detective.
And most of those first few movies, when it turns, those are like dark noir thrillers.
What do you call Bernie's like that weird comedy with Jack Black about the real life guy who killed some woman.
Yeah. Like some of those movies are incredibly dark. They go to some very fucked up places.
And I have not seen Killer Joe yet. I think Killer Joe was something I saw a trailer for and was intrigued by and just missed. Like that and that movie with Brad Pitt that fuck. Where he like grew his hair out and had some weird Sam Neill looking mustache.
Killing Me Softly, which is like apparently portrayed itself as an action movie. But
I thought I was going to see an action movie when I saw that, and it's really not. It's just like more of just a crime thriller-ish drama.
Yeah, but I really like how do I describe this? The older I got, the more I got into like slow-moving crime thrillers. When I saw Gone Girl, that movie fucking flipped my world upside down because I didn't know that was a kind of movie I craved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was really into like that kind of like strange crime. It is a crime thriller, but it's not, because like it's not really playing up the police elements. It's playing this husband trying to deal with the fact that he's like, what the fuck is happening to me?
It's a Hitchcock movie. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's
But then, like, I mentioned True Detective, and, like, True Detective, I think I've said it before in the show, True Detective I wasn't prepared for just from performances, but also from the storytelling perspective. You took a cop drama and you put in just this 1% of a supernatural potential Lovecraftian angle, and you played with it and teased me with it just enough to make me go, are you going to go all the way with this?
Yeah,
and they really don't, and I was fine with that, because either like Matthew McConaughey's character was nuts, or he took a step into it, like, or he took one step towards like cosmic enlightenment and then took a step back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they do confirm that he's nuts in the movie, but yeah, that show. I still think about that show frequently, and how angry I still am about season 2, but.
Dude, I started season 2 and I was like, I was in denial that it was poor. I was like, stop being so boring. And then like I just skipped to the end to watch Vince Vaughn fucking die. Like,
the worst part is, like, I remember when they were first talking about what the show was going to be about, and the show that they were talking about sounded amazing. That there was going to be a cult. And this was the cult that was controlling what was going on in LA, and it was behind the scenes, and it was like a comment on Hollywood and the industry. There's maybe like 10% of that in the second season.
Yeah, a lot of it it meanders until that episode where like Rachel McAdams goes into that like clubhouse. Mm-hmm. And that's like what, 5 or 6 episodes deep?
Yeah, and well, like the person with the bird mask, which doesn't come up again. Like there's a dude with a bird mask. Where did the bird mask come from? Show me other people with bird masks. Just like, I don't know. Like I'm still angry at that show for like, you set up some interesting ideas. Bird mask cult in LA, gangsters, sex clubs. And then they just didn't deliver on any of that, and they made like a bad Godfather movie or like a bad Michael Mann movie for 8 episodes.
I think we can actually start to wrap.
Yeah, I think we're almost.
Yeah, it's almost 12:30. I think we should.
I'm falling asleep.
Wow, we're not boring, huh?
It's still 9:20 where I am, so I've still have maybe an hour or so of my night left.
Well, you started talking about True Detective season 2, and I was just like dozing off.
Fair.
Why don't you fucking brag about it, huh?
Yeah. We should start talking about Taylor Kitsch and
how bad I feel for him, because every time
John Carter of Mars.
Yeah, they set him up, and he has an interesting story in that show, and then he just gets fucking murdered in the very way.
He does? Oh fuck! I never watched that long. I just, like I said, I skipped right to the end.
He dies literally an episode after you find out that he's like gay, like 100% gay, and it's really unsettling and
because that sucks, because there's that one episode that is, I would say, probably the most captivating, which is like the shootout episode, where like you suddenly see how capable he is in a gunfight, because he's what is it? He was in the Iraq War. He was in the. He was in some kind of Middle Eastern conflict. Yeah, and then he comes and like there's a massive fucking shootout, and like he is the one who is like fucking taking dudes out left and right, and his character becomes so interesting right there, because there's something really cool about someone who just suddenly becomes like who's been boiling for a minute, and then suddenly you're like, oh no, you're a fucking killer. Like,
yeah, there's like bits and pieces of episodes where it's like, this is a really well done sequence, and it's really interesting, and yeah, like there are glimmers of what the first season was, and then it just shits the bed, like really.
That's really why I'm going to close with this. I want my inevitable Obi-Wan movie to just be him avoiding physical conflict until the very end, where he's like, nobody's leaving this room alive, and he pulls out a lightsaber, and he's like, and no one will know I'm a Jedi, because no one's going to leave here with a pulse. Like,
yeah, this is what we all want.
Yeah. Here's what I really want, though. Just take Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
Put put it on Tatooine, and just copy and paste some Star Wars people over some Mad Max characters.
Yeah,
and call it a day.
Yeah, we've been on this train for a while. Just
dude, an Obi-Wan movie in the style of a Mad Max film is all I want. That's it. That's the only way. That's the only way I'll take it.
Yes. Yeah, give it to us. He's protecting somebody. Again, a la Logan. There's a girl, and the Hutts want her because I don't care why the Hutts want her.
Initially, he's like, "Nope, can't do it. Can't expose myself. Not going to do it." La 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 la. And then the more inhumane it gets, he's like,
"Yes, give it to us now."
We could have gotten this instead of that fucking Solo movie, but you had to go do the fucking Han Solo movie.
All right,
Solo was all right.
I don't blame the movie itself. Yeah. I blame the creative forces behind it who thought that we needed a Han Solo movie, but we didn't. Like that movie's probably fine, but it's just like nobody asked for it.
Yeah, but I think the thing I liked about Solo is that the movie ended, and I'm like, yeah, I'd watch another one of those with those characters. Like, it managed to convince me that the movie was worth making.
Yeah.
Which was, like, the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, I was just like... I mean, it's been a while now, so if you don't know this already, but Darth Maul shows up, so, yeah. But, like, he's cool in the movie for the 30 seconds that he's there. Like, he's really cool. He's more interesting than he was in the entirety of the prequels, so...
Well, yeah, if you like Darth Maul, go watch Clone Wars and Rebels.
Yeah. Yeah,
well, that's
the only time I like Maul. And his brother,
Savage Opress.
Savage Opress.
Savage Opress
Savage Opress. Fucking.
Fuck you. Savage Opress is awesome.
Okay.
I'm not talking about the character. I'm talking about that name, okay? I'm talking about that name.
Cartoon for was it Cartoon Network at the time?
I don't care. It was probably George Lucas's idea.
Okay. It 100% is because, like, we're in a universe where General Grievous exists. Get it? Because he's grievous. Okay, like
here's the thing.
We can go back further. Darth Vader. What is Vader? It's German for the word father.
It's Dark Father.
But here's the thing: General Grievous. He is the most edgelord design ever, so his name needs to be edgelord.
Yes, more fucking lightsabers.
Yes,
and he gets punked out in like 90 seconds.
Which is how it should be, though.
He becomes a fucking whirling dervish for like 15 seconds, and then
he lasts longer than Dooku.
I mean, here's the thing. I would prefer that to him being like a really capable fighter. I would prefer a Raiders of the Lost Ark out for him.
If you're talking about bad names, Dooku's Sith name is so bad they never use it. They use it like once.
Darth Tyrannus.
Darth Tyrannus.
They never refer to him as that.
They should have just called him Darth T-Rex. Like, seriously, that would have been more interesting.
Darth T-Rex.
It's Christopher Lee, and he deserves your goddamn respect.
I am Darth T-Rex.
Or
double the pride,
Dark Metal.
Twice the pride, double the fall.
He made a heavy metal album.
Yeah, Darth Heavy Metal Christmas album.
Here's the thing.
Can we hurry this up? I have to film the Halloween 2.
Here's the thing. Like, okay, no, the best Christopher Lee quote is, "I don't have to pretend to know what it means to be stabbed," or something like that. Told Peter Jackson. Have you heard that story, Hunter?
No, what?
Okay, when he was filming Two Towers, when he gets stabbed and thrown off a tower, I guess like Peter Jackson was like, "Can you do me a favor and pretend to, like," he's like, "Can you pretend to know what it sounds like to stab a man?" And he looked at Peter Jackson and says, "I don't have to pretend," and walks away.
He was in the SAS. And
he's fucking bayoneted Nazis before.
Yeah, he was in the SAS, and his cousin Ian Fleming was at the secretarial side of the SAS. Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
The whole reason that they did Howling 2 where they did it is because he was a war hero there.
But no, to close, like I like the horror bug bit me, which is why I ended up watching Hereditary in the first place. But the horror bug bit me in ways I wasn't really expecting, and for somehow, like I was just deliriously tired on Saturday night, and I wanted to fall asleep to something, but like nothing was clicking. I was like, I think I just want to fall asleep to some fucking horror, and I somehow, some way, ended up falling asleep to Christopher Lee reading Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh my!
Instead of putting me to sleep, I'm laying there just like wrapped with attention because I'm like, this is the fucking best thing I've ever discovered. Like, I didn't know he did this. Like, I'm listening to him in like 1973, The Fall of the House of Usher, and I'm like, I have not read this story or experienced it in like 20 years, and I'm giddy with attention right now.
Quote the Raven, nevermore.
Quote the Raven, nevermore.
All right, I think that's a good place to.
Yeah, that is a good place to start. Christopher Lee fucking rocks. I've been Connor McGraw. There is a bunch of Movie Dumpster coming out because we actually we recorded, we somehow got ahead of ourselves, and The Dark Forest just came out. Which, by the way, I had mentioned the show. The director of The Dark Forest asked us to review his movie, and we did. And Joe warned him, we make fun of movies, right? And he said, yeah. And so we recorded the episode, released it. He fucking tweeted us today and said, big shout out or big thanks to Movie Dumpster and their hilarious podcast. Thank you for reviewing my film.
I told you he's your Tommy Wiseau, man. He's gonna be on the show at some point.
That blew my fucking mind. And part of me was like, he didn't listen, and maybe he's just being nice, or maybe he did listen. And this is a very sincere plug, but I appreciate it all the way. And just the fact that I am alive to experience this kind of this little mini experience is blown mind all kinds of different ways. And I'm hoping it because this is the second time it's happened. Lloyd Kaufman from Trauma Films has noticed before too, and that was earth-shattering. So I'm hoping this momentum all news, but we still got Devin's Ghost coming out, and Guyver 2 will be out soon. That was the one we just did, and I think our next one is the Crocodile Hunter movie. And I am kicking around doing an actual anime film for the show. I just haven't decided which one it is yet. That, or I'm going to bite the bullet, and we're going to do Mortal Kombat Annihilation for my next pick.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Yeah, because, here's the thing. We haven't, Dark Forest and Devin's Ghost was bad. Guyver and Guyver 2 were, little kind of joyful bookends. Sean didn't enjoy them as much, but they were really fun for us. And a lot of people were like, holy fuck, we remember this. But, we tickle people's nostalgia, but we haven't truly suffered in a while. And I think we need something like Annihilation.
Annihilation's gonna do it, man.
I think Annihilation.
Have you heard about the wonder that is Jim Kata?
Okay. Man, if I had a fucking nickel for every time someone has asked us to do Jim Kata so far, I could basically buy us a studio.
It so fits though everything.
It's so, and we talked about doing. I talked about doing Street Fighter 2, the animated movie, because I don't think it's talked about enough. And Joe was like, let's just do Street Fighter. I'm like, no, Street Fighter is so fucking ubiquitous. We have to save that one for somewhere down the line.
You got to do Street Fighter, the Legend of Chun-Li.
No.
And if you want to feel pain.
That movie makes me so fucking angry.
With Scottish M. Bison and Chris Klein as Charlie Nash, and the whole movie he talks like this.
I can't believe they did a Street Fighter movie where they put Charlie Nash in it, and then they just fucking didn't do anything with him.
I think his entire role is summed up on YouTube in 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
He's in canon, he's the strongest one out of all of them.
Yeah,
and
he's Guile Superior, and they put him in a movie, he does fuck all. But also, M. Bison was a Scottish real estate mogul.
Well, it's in the future. The next season's villain of Flash, Chris Klein.
Yeah, he's gonna play Cicada. Woo.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, that's my plugs.
Yeah. I believe I am Arlen Haro. AA Haro on all the socials and things. Don't follow me on Twitter though, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to shut that down here real soon. But who knows? Lost Haro podcast every single week. Most recent episode is a weird one, but we talk about the Oscars and we finish up talking about Mission Impossible. Yeah, and then next episode we will be covering Black Mirror if things go correctly. So, yeah.
Can't wait to talk about David Cameron fucking a pig.
We've all been there.
Wow.
I'll go. I'm at Eric Sayour on Twitter. Follow me there. I like reviewing the movies I watch, and so if you want to hear about new, smaller indie films, it's a good place where I talk about those. And I'm on Lost Hour Podcast with Arlen, so listen to that show.
Yep. It's a good show.
I guess you can find me kicking Miles Teller's ass on my front lawn here in an unspecified location in New Hampshire. Don't follow me anywhere. Fuck you.
Oh my god.
What else?
I mean, Project Hawkeye.
Yeah, I got something cool coming out soon in about like 3 months or so.
Yeah. Halloween. Look forward to
yeah. Halloween. Something's coming.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it for me.
All right. I'm Lou Gonzalez. I'm Lou A. Gonzalez on Instagram. Again, fuck Twitter. You can check out Smallville Chronicles every Wednesday. The next episode we have coming out this Wednesday, there's 3 people that get murdered on screen by a shotgun. Like, straight up, we see dead bodies. Yeah. And I have one request from Alan, who was not able to finish this. He wanted me to read a couple of the lyrics from the episode that opened up that we just recorded, because it's so 2000s, and it goes, "Do you think I can get some chicky chicky? Maybe get a little finger sticky sticky."
I don't know what's happening, but I want it to end.
What?
Yes.
What?
Yeah, because this is a shit.
Pop music, guys. The height of pop culture.
Yeah.
Yes, sure. Yeah, I don't know.
Every time I watch an episode, and because I watch with the subtitles on, I'm like, oh god, these are songs that were popular.
If you expose them to me, I probably couldn't tell you who the fuck sang them.
Well, here's the thing: some of them weren't actually hot songs. They were songs that wanted to be hot, so that makes them even sadder.
I think like one of the only things I can go back from that time period and rewatch, and the soundtrack like just fills my soul with life, is the soundtrack to Out Cold, the fucking snowboarding comedy movie.
Oh my god! Wow.
Yeah.
I fucking love that movie so much.
So you're saying you can't go back and watch 2003's Daredevil and enjoy the soundtrack? Is that what you're saying?
What a great soundtrack. You know what actually unironically has a good soundtrack?
If you start saying the lyrics to Bring Me to Life, I will climb through your fucking internet and I will strangle you to death.
Hear me out on this.
I don't know them, so I can't. But yeah,
hear me out on this real quick. All right, Punisher Warzone has a really good soundtrack.
Actually, Punisher Warzone, everything about Punisher Warzone is an utter treasure and delight. So yeah, I'm not going to argue with you there.
Good.
Actually, if you want to read about a good mid-2000s soundtrack, there was this piece like this week on the song Scotty Doesn't Know, like the oral history of Scotty Doesn't Know from the movie Eurotrip.
I was just thinking about Eurotrip today, you fucking wizard.
Well, one of you guys brought it up earlier.
How Matt Damon why Matt Damon is in this film singing this song, and it's a very good piece. I suggest looking it up.
I think I might, because I don't know why, but I was at work today and we were talking about movies and everybody left the room. I was like, Eurotrip wasn't that bad. To myself.
All right. I think that's a good place to end. Fuck Movie Pass. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye. Fuck X-Men Apocalypse. Fuck Movie Pass. And fuck the Slenderman movie.
Adios.